Run it. I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then I go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then I go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss.
Okay, what up, everybody? It's the Bains and Beers podcast. We're here with my co-host, Alan Bains, and we have a very special guest, someone we've been trying to get a podcast with for a minute now, Harpo. She's a fellow podcaster, brown girl, very successful. My girlfriend loves it, and she's a blogger. And now she's taken on the role of the manager at 5X. Harpo, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
How you been?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. If I could tell you, like, how long, I don't know how long you guys have been doing the podcast, but like in the first little bit, I used to be like, oh, I want to be a guest on the podcast one day.
Yeah.
I think I was living in Montreal at the time when I was doing my master's there, and I would see you guys having guests on. And I was like, you know, that'd be kind of fun to do. So I feel like I've manifested this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you started your own
That's dope to
podcast
hear
too,
from
so
us.
Yeah. In that time, I started my own podcast.
Yeah.
And back then, you guys were like one of the only local podcasts that we had. And everybody was always so excited to see like where you guys would take it. So
you
it's
fell off,
nice.
right? She's like, I came in.
I took that spot.
Okay, so talk a bit about yourself. Tell us our audience who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and what you're about.
I'm Harpo. I like to tell everybody that that's how I like to introduce myself, and that's how I like to move through the world, like truly just as myself. I'm many things. I'm a visionary. I feel like I'm a community member. I am a podcast host, and I'm a proud kid from Surrey. I say that all the time. Like, I'm a truly proud kid from Surrey. I love being from Surrey. I love representing it. Everything that I do is really to put Surrey on the map. And I am the general manager of 5X. I have been for the last 2 years. But I think now I'm stepping into like a little bit more of like a serious, focused position. Like I'm really letting go of all the other million things that I've been doing and just focusing on being the general manager of 5X, because I think that's where I can make the most impact in my community. And then I'm a brown girl. You know, I love being a brown girl. That's why I started Brown Girl Guild.
Yeah.
So all of those things.
Let's talk a bit about the podcast. What made you want to start a podcast?
I think the medium itself wasn't really like, it wasn't that I always wanted to start a podcast. I know I always wanted to tell stories, and I always wanted to like talk about my experiences and share what I had been through with other people, in the hopes that like I would realize that I wasn't the only person going through this, and then also in the hopes that other people would also feel like, oh, okay, I'm not the only person that goes through this. So podcasting was just like, I guess, like an easy medium for me to connect with people. And I had this idea called Brown Girl Guilt. And I always thought it would be like a book that I would write, and it would just be one book, and it would have multiple chapters, and that would be it. But then I just decided, okay, if I do a podcast, I can have like weekly episodes. I can like talk about the things and like get deeper with them. And then the podcast started. It took me a solid, like I would say like 10 months before I actually saw a lot of people listen to it and pick it up, and like have people find it on Spotify randomly and then come to me on Instagram that way. So it took about 10 months to like for it to really pick up. And then, I mean, now I'm going on hiatus, but the podcast was like such a wonderful way to like connect with my community and bring people in. And that's how people got to know me and got to know a little bit about what it means to be like a brown girl from Surrey. And now everywhere I go, people are like, oh my God, you're Harpo, you're Brown Girl Guild. And I'm like, yeah. And like, it puts me in such a good mood.
What, like, considering you're saying like you wanted to talk, like, I guess obviously it's a specific issue within our community that you wanted to go into for the podcast. What is it that, you know, you wanted to talk about? What am I trying to say? Like, you said, like,
why did you start? Like, what are the things that you want? Basically,
like, what is it that
what inspired you to start this podcast? What is, like, you know, how
what's
your
the issue?
how your openness, how you're being vulnerable, how you're doing all these things. What he's trying to say is that what happened, what's the things that are going through your life, and what makes you feel like confident enough to put yourself out there like that.
Yeah, so in 2019, I posted to Instagram. It was like a Canva post that I made. I wrote "brown girl guilt" on a like a random Instagram graphic, and I posted it to Instagram. And I just talked about what brown girl guilt means to me, lowercase. And at the time, that was like my most viral Instagram post. I think I got like 1,000 likes or something, and that was back in 2019. And so many girls commented on it. They shared it. They like saved it. They messaged me privately. They were like, "Wow, like this is the first time that I have words to describe that specific feeling that I'm feeling," which is so specific to brown girls. And it's that guilt that we carry for any decision that we make in our lives. I'm sure there's brown boy guilt, and I'm waiting for an offshoot to happen one day. But I was like, okay, brown girl guilt is something so specific. And then when I saw that the way that everybody reacted to it, I was like, oh, there's something here. Like this is something that I'm not the only one experiencing, but obviously 1,000 people experienced because 1,000 of them liked it. And then like over 200 or 300 of them felt compelled enough to comment on the post. So then I was like, okay, I think I want to stretch this like specific experience out. It's not something that like is universal to everybody because it is brown girl guilt, but so many other people can also relate to it. Like I'm sure if you both listened to the episodes, you'd be like, yeah, maybe not brown girl guilt, but I experienced that in a different way. Yeah. Right?
How would you explain the guilt to like say somebody who wasn't a brown girl, or say like explain it to like us or to like Dan here? Like how what does that look like?
So it's this like overwhelming feeling of you're doing something wrong when you're living your life. So if you're cutting your hair, you're like, oh, I feel guilty for that. Oh, if I'm sleeping in till 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning and I can hear my mom vacuuming downstairs, I feel really guilty that I'm laying here in bed while my mom is working and I'm resting. Or like if you choose the kind of partner that you want to marry and like your parents don't like them, there's a different kind of guilt that you experience because it's not expected of you, right? So, or like honestly, like if you are like you have a boyfriend and or like you have a girlfriend or whatever, and you're like hooking up with them, you can't get your parents out of your mind. Like you can't even actually put your parents aside and like just enjoy what you're doing if you're like making out with someone or something, because you're like, oh shit, I'm so guilty.
Daddy.
Yeah. I swear to God.
Backseat of a car.
Yeah, backseat of a car. You're like, oh shit. You're like, oh shit, my parents aren't home. If only they knew what their daughter was up to. That is brown girl guilt. And so that it holds you back from living your life. Like it holds you back from being happy and moving through the world in like pure joy because you're so scared that you're doing the wrong thing by just living your life.
Okay, so I have a question about that. Where does like that guilt stem from? Is it from a young age? Is it like, maybe certain comments our parents make while we're growing up? Like where does that come from? That sort of trauma. Is it trauma, would you say?
I wouldn't say it's trauma. It's definitely your childhood. You experience traumatic things that make you feel guilty. I think it's just the way that like it's been passed through our generations. Like I definitely saw my mom experience guilt for things that were like her right of her, like like if she, let's say my mom has this like weird thing where if she's out of the house past like 4 p.m. or something, she'll start to feel really guilty because she's like, oh, I have to go home, I gotta make dinner, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And so like she'll rush us when we were at the mall, and if it was like 4 p.m. 5 p.m. she would start to rush us. And I'd be like, why? She'd be like, oh, because your dad's gonna be home from work, I gotta go home, I gotta do this. And so like you see her living in that guilt, and then you just embrace it too. And as young girls, like our moms are our examples, right? That's the first female example that we have in our life. So it's from our families, it's from our childhood. It's like what's been passed through from like our grandparents to our parents and then our parents to us. And if we don't catch it, then it's going to get passed to our kids too.
Okay, yeah, I see that, I want to say, not say, but I want to ask, what about, is there like a line with that too though? Do you ever feel like that it's like, because you're saying like coming home, cooking, things like that, like, sometimes that is what happens in the relationship as well. Is there a line, do you feel like, where also if you commit to your family, etc., that you can't just live your life as well?
Yeah, I think
so.
It's
how
a
do
balance.
You toe that and stuff? That's what I'm just curious about.
Right.
If there is both sides.
Because
to that.
I do see that, like as even like our moms, like they have that fear, like your dad's gonna be home, he's gonna be pissed off. Why isn't my food ready or like on the table, this that, and like you're saying, monkey see monkey do. As a daughter, you build those habits as you grow up, and then you go into your relationships, and like if your man's mistreating you, you think it's a norm. You know what I mean? And I guess I see what you're saying there too, and like I feel like that is a big issue, but I feel like that also stems for like as us bande. You know what I mean? Like, you ever feel that like pressure as a man?
Well, that's what we're saying. That you were saying that there's probably some brown boy guilt at the same time. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck, I'm grinding my ass off for 8, 9 hours, 10
Yeah.
hours, sometimes 12
Yeah.
hours a day. And I want my sandwich to be made. I want the roti to be there when I get home. I'm not trying to say this in an offensive way. I'm like,
Yeah.
genuinely how like
Yeah.
like men think, like how we feel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how you feel. Like if I'm putting the grind, I'm providing for my family.
Yeah.
So in a way, like I feel like it can go both ways, but I definitely understand that it does get kind of put more down on the women of our culture. I think.
Well, I think also
Yeah.
like if you
I do
you know,
agree, yeah.
I've asked my dad. I'm like, hey dad, did you ever like have a dream? Like, what
Mhm.
would you have done?
Yeah.
My dad owns a trucking company, and I'm like,
Yeah.
did you want that? Like, what would you have done otherwise, right? And of course, his brown boy guilt is that I have to be the provider. I got to put my dreams aside. It doesn't matter what I wanted to do. I got to provide for my family. And if it's doing a trade job or a labor job, I'm just going to do it, right? And so if he had, let's say, gone against it and then like chosen to just live his dream and do whatever he wanted, perhaps he would have experienced a sense of brown boy guilt, right? It's like
Yeah.
everybody experiences it, but when I say brown girl guilt, the reason I call it that is because I'm a brown girl and I can speak to it, and it's my like specific nuanced experience with the overlap of the brownness and the girlness, right? And so you guys absolutely experience brown boy guilt, and we all experience guilt. Like as human beings, we're not like
Doesn't
we're not.
matter if we're brown or
Yeah,
whatever we are,
yeah. But the reason it's that, and to your point of like, is there a line? Yeah, I think like I love my parents and I want to do things for them because, you know, when my dad comes home and he's like, can you make me a sandwich? I'm like, yeah, I know I can make you the best sandwich in the world. I know it, right? And you just spent like 8, 9 hours working, so I'm gonna make you the sandwich. But like, it's my choice. And I think when your choice is removed away from you and you're like supposed to live that way, that's when it can
That's
get
when it
blurry.
is.
It's like a normal, right? Like
Yeah,
expected.
it's supposed to be. Like if
Yeah.
you look at the definition of what
And
we've
then it's-
created, yeah.
Then it's like then you feel like the appreciation is not there because it's more expected.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
I see what you guys.
You know how they say like the thought counts? It's like the
Yeah.
thought's taken away. Now it's just do it.
Yeah,
Right.
like it's just it's an expectation, right?
Yeah.
It's like what you're supposed to do, and then when you go against what you're supposed to do, that's like a problem. And
Yeah.
for I think for girls, it like governs like everything we do. So it's like whether like how many tattoos I have, whether I have tattoos, how I cut my hair. So many girls would be like, "Oh, you have your nose piercing? Oh, I'm not allowed. My dad says I'm not allowed." They're like in their 30s, and they're just
Yeah.
like their dads are like, "No, you're not allowed to get your nose pierced," right? Or their moms also
Say
share
it,
the same
yeah.
belief. And then if you go and do it, then you're like, "Oh, I feel guilty because I wasn't supposed to do that."
Yeah.
It's that wasn't supposed to that causes the
Yeah.
guilt.
Do you ever run into that problem?
At home
Yeah.
with myself, like my parents.
Like you should say in your personal experience, have you run into a problem where it's like you're saying, like you have a nose ring yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, is that a problem? Like,
Yeah.
have you ever ran into that? And what was your experience? How did you kind of like grow from it, etc.?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate that my parents haven't like stopped me from doing things. I've had a very open relationship with my parents. Like my dad knows when I'm on a date, he'll know the guy's name. He'll be like, "Great, where are they on?" I'll be like, "Oh, I don't know
so,
yet."
So you openly have that conversation?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've always had a very open
Yeah.
relationship with my parents, and especially my dad. There's nothing that I've never been allowed to do. And
Yeah.
to be honest, like I was feisty enough that if I wasn't allowed to do it, I'd be like, "I'm still gonna do it." You know?
Yeah.
Like I had that relationship with my parents.
Yeah.
But I think it came at a price, right? Because like I was thrown into like a very adult role in my family when I was young, because there was just like conflict in the house, intergenerational trauma in the house. So like I sort of did it like for the longest time. I was like, well, you guys made me make adult decisions at 10, so now I'm gonna do whatever I want as a 20-year-old. And like
Kind of
obviously
rebellion.
it was rebellious at
Yeah.
It's like
first.
resentment too, right?
Yeah. I've calmed down a lot now. Now I don't
Yeah.
do that. But at that time, it was sort of like revenge. And they knew it too. They were like, yeah, we did put our kid through a lot, so we're just
Yeah.
going to let her do what she wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's also like an issue, whereas like you're able to have that conversation and you can navigate through that, right, with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of girls don't have that choice.
No, they don't.
It's like this way or there's a door.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, what's an advice you'd give to those girls? How would they break that barrier? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you have to first and foremost, like, you have to gauge your own safety. And if you don't have safety in your life, you have to seek it somehow. Like, it wasn't always safe for me to be, like, loud and bold in my extended family. I've been really grateful that, like, my family unit was really good. But, like, it was really hard for me to permeate that like in my extended family. I was always like the wild child and stuff. So I think like for any girls that like are going through this and they don't have that relationship with their parents, I always say like you have to find safety within yourself first. Like you have to be strong enough and confident enough. You got to work on yourself enough to like be there for yourself, because even like me, like if my parents are open and stuff, it's not like they support everything that I do, right? I literally had a conversation about moving out with my dad, and he was like, not until you're married. And I was like, what the hell does that mean, right? So sometimes you just have to believe that, like, if your parents aren't like, this is also my privilege talking, like I haven't had to grow up in abuse or anything like that. So I've always known that my parents will come around. But for people whose parents aren't going to come around, I think it's really important, like when your sense of safety has been taken away, you got to create safety inside yourself first.
Yeah, because I think that's where, like, even for females, like our mothers, the reason why they can't or they weren't able to walk out of toxic situations, because brown uncles, they can be very toxic. It can be, we've all witnessed it, I think, at some point growing up. But I feel like they had no choice, because if the male's the bread provider, they got nowhere else to go. Right?
It just comes back to the same story every time. They're putting their trauma onto the other people, and their trauma is passed on from their parents before, and then before them, and we're gonna fucking do the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we can work on it as much as we can to try to make changes and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like whatever you went through, all the things that you went through, you're still gonna like as a good of a person you can be. You will deal with it. You will. Almost like go through it in a way, or maybe even pass it down as well.
And which is why I think so many women in like our generation saw it happen at home and were like, I'm going to financially equip myself so that this shit doesn't happen and I have an option, right? Like when I spoke to my dad about moving out and he was like, no, I was like, you don't get it though. Like you don't understand that me going from one man's house to another man's house is like not how I want to live my life. And he was like, no, but like people are going to talk, right? And if you move out before marriage, people are going to talk. I'm like, what are they going to say? Like, truly, everybody knows what people say about girls who move out before they get married. It's because she wants to have boys over. She wants to do this. She wants to do that. But no one understands that, like, if I do get married and I move into a home with my partner or into his parents' house, and if it doesn't work out, at the end of the day, my only two options are to either stay with him or come back to my mom and dad's house. And people are going to talk shit about that regardless. And so I've always wanted to have a middle ground, which is my own home that I pay for, so that it's somewhere that I can go to, because not everybody has that option, right? And you're right. Like a lot of people, a lot of women have, stayed with their partners for the sake of their children because they don't have another home to go to. They don't have money of their own. Financial literacy was withheld from them. Like they don't know what assets they have. They don't know how to open up a bank account. And that shit is like, that's bad. Like that can be harmful in so many ways.
It's your own kids.
You could also, the partner can use it as like manipulation ways too. Like you're saying, right? Toxic ways.
Yeah, because then that shit's getting passed on to your kids, man. And then that's why you have all this like generational trauma where like we have all this stuff that goes on in our community, right? And like it's crazy how I feel like this whole conversation. What's your take on this whole thing, like lo kiki koge?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I think it's fear-based.
Yeah.
It's totally fear-based. Genuinely, at the end of the day, like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so invested in my own life. I actually don't care what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And, like, I have so much going on in my own life that I don't actually look to other people. So I can't be one of the people that are wondering about other people, right? I could be log, right? But I'm not, because I have stuff going on in my own life. And it's fear-based. Like, even when people are like, well, we can't do this because what are people going to think? How much of a say do these people actually have in your day-to-day? None at all. But we've given our power away, right? Yeah. If we were so rooted and confident in who we are, we wouldn't care what people think about us.
No, we don't even be a second thought.
But the thing is, bro, we get compared growing up as kids. Like they say, comparison is a thief of joy.
Bro, you get compared till this fucking day.
To your own cousins.
Yeah.
To your own cousins.
Your
like, yo, he's a
cousins,
doctor. Why couldn't you be a doctor?
Siblings, too. Like, my brother is younger than me. He gets compared to me all the time. And I have to stop my parents and be like, he is his own person.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just because I went to school and did this, this, and this, and he doesn't want to, doesn't mean that he's any less than.
How's that? Having a brother.
All the best.
Is it?
Yeah.
But, like, how's that dynamic in a sense where, like, you talk about this thing where your dad and your mother, there was that point where like you had to step in at times, or you saw trauma,
right?
Did you see that pass on with your brother too?
He is so lucky because his sister was basically his mom.
Okay. So
I'm
you
basically his
raised him
mom.
in a sense.
Yeah, basically. We have an 8-year age gap, so he's basically like my son.
Okay.
And he was really lucky to have someone like me point things out. And so he has an internal gauge of when things are right and when things are wrong. He has picked up on a lot of like gender roles, which are so hard to undo. So he'll see his dad not pick up the dishes, so he doesn't pick up the dishes. He sees his dad not do the laundry, so he won't do his laundry.
Yeah.
Little things like that he's picked up on, which are so hard to like not pass on when the gender roles in your house are so stark. But overall, he understands that women are equal to him, and he does have a very protective energy. Like, so he'll be like at a party, and if he sees anything wrong, he'll like really stand up for the women and stuff like that. The younger girls there. So there's a lot that hasn't been passed on, but there is a lot that has been passed on. But he has so much love and respect for me. And then not just because I'm a sister, but because I'm a person, I'm a human being, I'm a woman. And so for that reason, I think he moves through the world differently than the men that he saw with. Yeah.
Because I feel like, bro, I have 2 older sisters, right? And I've been babied, right? So like you're saying, those habits, that's been the biggest battle in my household.
Yep.
Is I see that stuff. I didn't do laundry. My sisters, that got passed on to my mom. Whether it was like cooking, I never cooked as well, you know. And now when I lived on my own, that was a problem. Yeah. Because I had to learn all that. Yeah. Right.
Or calling me.
or he'd be cooking for both of us. This could be sitting downstairs. This guy be upstairs cooking food for us. Yeah. But what was I trying to say, man?
It gets passed off.
But the thing is though, like that habit developed because of my mom, not because of my dad. I got babied by my mom, right? And if I wasn't getting babied by her, she'd be like, "Oh, go do this for him to my sisters." Right. And I feel like that's a big issue in our community as brown boys.
Well, yeah, I mean, like women uphold the system of patriarchy too, 100%, because they're subscribed to it too, right? They think that this is how it's supposed to be. Like, my brother will be washing dishes, and my grandma will come running from the room and be like, "Hi, munda hapa de right?" Like, it's like you're like, yo, come on, right? You would have never done that if that was me. But it's a system that even women will uphold in the families as well. Yeah. Right. And it's hard. It's so hard. And like, you know how you were saying that's been like a big issue in your family. It is such a big issue in my family too. I love my brother unconditionally, but this is the one thing that really will probably be the thing that drives a wedge in our relationship eventually, because I'm just going to get real sick of it. Like, I'm going to get sick of it. Sometimes it's not even like the physical labor, it's like the emotional labor. So like emotional labor is like the thing that women have to keep a mental note of at all times in their homes. So like, our moms know when the garbages need to be taken out. Our moms know when your deodorant's finished, right? Your mom knows, okay, I'm going to Costco, toothpaste is finished in the house, I need to buy it. That's all emotional labor. And women do that all the time. So they're doing physical labor, but they're doing emotional labor. And I get so frustrated that like my brother doesn't have to do emotional labor in the house, and I do. Like it pisses the fucking shit out of me, right? And that is where difference will show up. Like, our parents will be like, "Oh, we don't do fark in our kids, like da 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 da. We love them equally. They both have the same cars and da da da." But like, this is where the fark actually shows up, and we miss it completely.
Yeah. Some guy was talking to a girl yesterday, and she said as a girl, I feel like I have to pay.
I know, I caught that
too. She's like, I have to pay rent with my mind or with my mental, with my mental state. And
my brother sent me that TikTok too. He was like,
it was a TikTok.
Yeah, my brother sent me TikTok.
So she fucking took it from a TikTok.
Yeah, she plagiarized it. It was like not paying rent in Desi household, but paying with your mental health. Yeah.
She's literally. Like, I pay it with my mental health. What's your take on that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. We don't pay rent like brown kids. We don't pay rent, but we are our parents' marriage counselors, therapists, family counselors. We're their doctors. We're their interpreters. We're everything.
Yeah. So right? I listened to a podcast where you talked a little bit about that you had to step in and like in a sense like counsel and like be your mom and dad's therapist. How important do you think that is for a brown child growing up taking that role?
Oh, it's so bad. Like it's called parentification, reverse parenting. When like when like young kids are put into the role of parents, it psychologically really messes with their like development, because think about like having to act like a 25-year-old at age 10, it's really bad. There's different ways of it. Like there's one way where it's like I don't know about you guys, but I'm still terrified to write a check, because when I was like 10, I used to have to write a check for my mom when my dad was at work. And like I used to get really nervous because I used to think like a check was such a big deal.
It is still a little scary. Yeah,
right? Right? Talk to a white kid. They don't have that problem. Right? Talk to a white kid. Dan, do you have that problem?
Sorry, what's a check?
So there's that.
Dan is wire transfer only.
So there's that where you like would have to write a check, or like, you go to McDonald's drive-through and your mom doesn't know English, so you have to order at age 10 for the entire family, right? But then there's
so
I had to go through that because my mom didn't really speak English growing up, and so then there's the other.
I met your mom.
Huh?
I met you and your mom.
You did?
Yeah, I remember this day at Watershed Park.
No way.
Yeah, me
oh
and
yeah,
my cousin
yeah,
were
you did,
walking.
you did.
The guys were on a walk.
Yeah,
She was on a walk with her mom. I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is so wholesome.
Yeah. But then the other like version of parentification is like when you are like resolving conflict, or like if your mom and dad are not getting along, like you're being told like, hey, your dad did this or your mom did this, and you're trying to fix it. The fact that I am my brother's mom and that I was like raising an 8-year-old at age 16 or something is also part of it. And so it really slows your development down, and it's not good, because then you can't form meaningful relationships with other people in your life. Like I got mad relationship problems, which I'm working on.
Let's talk
We're gonna
about it.
talk. Whoa, wait! Before you say
We
that,
as brown boys.
Yeah, no.
We'll
Wait.
be the-
Before you say that though, I wanted to ask: do you are you how cheers?
Cheers to that.
How are you involved in like with
the brown
your
boys.
parents?
Don't do that.
With like talking about dating, etc. How are you with your brother in his own life, and does it change ever, like the way he treats girls and stuff like that? Do you feel like you influence that a lot, or stuff like, because he's probably he's a young guy, right?
Yeah, he's a total.
He's fucking
dude bro
rocking here,
surjack.
probably. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
He's
so,
a pretty boy. He's such a dude boy surjack. He's such he's so popular with the girls. He's gonna hate that I said that, but he is. Yeah, he's 18, but he looks like he's like 20 something easily, right?
This guy over here.
Are you 18?
I'm 19.
Okay, yeah, that's scary. I thought you were in your 20s. Yeah, I thought you were in your 20s.
But it's 30, man.
No, we're open. We're
That's
super.
scary.
We're super open, but he's. It is scary, right? I'll tell you why in a second. Hold on one second. I'll tell you why that is. But yeah, he's super open. He'll tell me about his like girl stuff, right? Like, we're totally cool like that. I'm so proud of him sometimes. Like one time he told me like he was supposed to be home at a certain time, and then he wasn't home at that time. And the next day, like we were like, hey, like you came too late or whatever. He's like, Bains, you gotta listen. Like, there was this girl and this guy was doing this thing, and like I had to stay. He's like, I know, like I got in trouble and I'll get in trouble again, but like I had to stay there with the girl. Like I wasn't gonna leave, because if I left, who would have known? Who knows what would have happened? I was like, wow, I'm so proud of you, kid. Like, good for you. I raised you well.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's pretty open like that.
Okay, so he's good with the girls. He's a good boy.
He's good with the girls.
He's nice.
I think
nice.
he's a little bit too much.
He's not on the top.
He's a
diva.
softie. I think he's a softie.
Because the Surrey Jack mentality isn't the greatest.
I think you know what it is. I think he's so nice that like he gives his heart away too fast sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
He wears his heart
He's
on
been
his
played
sleeve.
with a couple of times. It sounds like. Boy got his heart
And like
broke
the
at
older
16.
girls like him usually,
Oh,
so
even
it's like a
He's
whole.
mature then.
He's a mature kid. Yeah.
Would you be okay with him bringing an older woman home?
It's his
Okay,
life.
wait.
It's his life.
That's a question.
Yeah.
Is that an issue? Would that be an issue ever within your household? Like,
It's his life.
yeah. So
Yeah.
your parents are okay with like? Because I'll be
Gordy.
honest, in my family, like that would be, like my mom would have something to say straight up.
Yeah.
Somebody would have something to say.
I'm sure they would. I'm sure they
Yeah.
would. I don't have a problem
Yeah.
with it. Like
So you'd
it's
back
his
him up.
life. Yeah, it's his life. Like he got this like massive sleeve thing,
Yeah.
tattoo thing, and it's like a crazy tattoo.
Oh,
He got it when he was
okay.
17,
Okay.
about to turn 18, like
Yeah.
in that same month. And I wanted so badly to be like, what the fuck are you doing? But I was like, okay, but I've got like 17 tattoos. I can't stop
Yeah.
him, right?
Holy
like,
shit, 17.
yeah, I just got
Nice.
it's turned 17 like last week. But
Congrats.
thank you, man.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really proud of them.
No problem.
But I was like, I can't stop
Yeah.
him, right?
Yeah.
Like from living his life. I'm a hypocrite then.
But why did you have an issue?
I thought he was too young.
Okay.
I really thought he was too young. Like, to get like a massive tattoo like that at age 17. I got my first tattoo at 19. It was a tiny little one.
Yeah.
It's like on your body for the rest
The
of
rest
your
of your
life,
life,
right?
yeah.
So it wasn't.
Do you regret any tattoos?
Sorry?
Do you regret any of them?
No.
Where you're like, fuck, I should have got that.
Yo, you kind of
The way, yeah, you
They're
hesi-
my first
hesi-
tattoo, yeah,
Yeah.
because not because of like what it is, but like who did it. The guy that did my tattoo, like he was such
This
an
guy.
ass. He was so. It's not symmetrical.
Yeah.
It's not like the right size. He just
Yeah.
tattooed and like it was out in and out. And I remember asking him like, oh, like so like how long have you been tattooing for? He's like today. And I
Yeah.
was like, the fuck, like why would you talk to me like that? So that's why I regret it.
He's like today.
What if he actually started today?
No, he did it. He was like he was like an established.
Poor
tattoo
guy's
place,
apprentice, right? He's like trying to.
No, he's like an older
No,
guy.
that's
Yeah,
funny.
but no, I don't regret any. My
Yeah.
tattoos all tell a story. So
What about your relationships?
what do you want to know?
Wait. Let's go to the after. I have a
What?
question about the tattoos.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
My relationships keep getting delayed. I love it.
We'll say
Oh
that
no,
part,
that's gonna be
'cause
nice.
That's gonna be spicy.
We'll kind of like but
Gotta learn.
the tattoos. It's because I watched the podcast, man.
Okay, ask it.
Lena's always playing it, but
Oh, he dropped the name.
the
Dad.
Hey, so fuck. Your dad wasn't okay with your tattoos.
Yeah, he still isn't.
Okay, how like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Divulge. Why is he not okay? What's his take on that?
My dad's thing is very like, I don't understand why you would want to permanently ink your body forever. I just don't get it. He doesn't understand it. He'll be like, I was watching this news and story and they were like tattoos cause cancer. I'm like, that's not real, dog. Like,
Yo,
it's not real.
this guy can't be over. I was about to get a tattoo. He
Yeah.
goes up to my dad, Tayaji, you can get cancer when you
I
get
read that
tattoos."
same article your dad read.
Yeah.
I swear to God. In
And my
front of
dad
me.
was
You're
like,
both
"Yo."
uncles.
Yeah.
No, that's
But then
why
a
his
year
thing
later,
is-
I told him I'm gonna get one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's his thing. It has nothing to do with like you're a girl or anything like
Yeah.
that. He doesn't like it. He's very vocal about not liking it, but he never stops me because he knows it's my body.
Yeah.
I still do that dance where I'm like, I got a tattoo and I like hide it like the first little bit where it's like healing,
Yeah.
and then as soon as I take the patch off, then they think, oh, it's always been there, right?
Yeah.
Because now I have so many on my arms, you'll never know which one's a new one.
Facts, yeah.
But he doesn't like it. He's very vocal about it, and him and my mom both now wish I would stop. My BB is the funniest. She'll be like, "Oh, you keep getting all these tattoos on your arms.
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna happen when it's your wedding and we have to do your mendi? Like,
Yeah.
how are we gonna put the mendi around your
Yeah.
arms?"
Because I feel like
Yeah.
brown people judge about tattoos.
Yeah.
Straight up. I've seen it happen so many times.
I've actually never experienced that
Really?
much judgment. Yeah, like
Yeah,
my
but-
extended family's pretty open with it too.
Yeah.
Like all the girls have tattoos.
But
all
then
the
think
boys
about
do.
what you just said.
The mendi thing.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the first thing that's coming
Yeah.
in a brown wedding is what's the problem that you
Yeah.
have the tattoos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
But
about
why
that.
is that an issue?
That's what I'm asking.
I think it has to do with like respectability politics. Like, oh, this girl is not respectable because she has so many tattoos. Because again, it
Yeah.
goes back to like these are things you're not supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And
Have
because-
it, just hide it. Don't have it. We're in a place where people can see it, right?
Yeah.
And tattoos were also looked in a time late in past
Oh, yeah, in the
generations
past,
where they
yeah.
were from, where it wasn't as a like a common thing, like the everyday man was getting a tattoo.
Dan, was that
It was
guys-
gangs getting tattoos. It was
Yeah,
Yeah.
guys' thing too. Like,
It's a cross cultural thing. I
sex
think.
worker kind of people getting tattoos, things like that. So then I feel like for that generation, they have a little different
Sex workers.
mindset. Why'd you have to fucking
No, 'cause I'm like,
explain it on
why'd
that
you
list
gotta throw
like
that-
But yes, again, respectability politics,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
People who were not worthy of respect were
not-
the ones that
quote
were.
on quote
considered,
unquote
yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
But have you has that been a thing in you guys'?
Yeah, my dad didn't like tattoos either.
No.
When
Yeah.
we lived at home, he was like, "No, you can't get them."
Yeah.
Yeah.
How involved is your dad right now? Like in terms of like, is he?
Oh, now at this point, like, I mean, he lives in Australia,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, he wouldn't care about that anymore.
Anything now, right?
No,
Yeah.
he's
Okay.
pretty hands
Seeing
off.
brown, you're fucking till you're married. Even after that, they still give a fuck, man.
But it's cross cultural, right? You think about like people used to be like, you're not gonna get a job if you have tattoos. That was any culture.
That
That
was
was
a
huge
thing. That's
white,
still
brown,
a huge
anybody.
thing.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
still. I feel like some.
I
some
mean, if you
employers-
walk in and you're a SoundCloud rapper with your fucking face tattoo, you're probably not getting the job.
I feel like our world has kind of progressed past that though. Like I have hand tattoos. You guys haven't have you noticed them? Like
I saw the.
I noticed the
Yeah,
lightning
yeah.
one,
Yeah,
but your hand tattoo. I said a face tattoo.
face tattoo.
Yeah,
yeah,
Well, my brother wanted a neck tattoo at 17, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Beja tu."
Yeah,
No one's
yeah.
gonna do that for you,
Yeah.
first of all.
But see, like
Right.
that sort of input is also
What? Oh,
like
yeah.
saying no. Like it kind of puts a little makes you think,
Yeah.
which is important.
Low key makes you want
Right?
to do it some more too, though.
So I feel like even as a father, like one thing is forcing them not to get it, but as a parent, you're gonna be like, okay, wait, that's your child. You're gonna be like, hey, like think about what you're doing.
And also asking them the why. So it's
Yeah.
like, why do you want a neck tattoo at age 17?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's cool. Da, 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 da. Well, like, okay, that's cool right now, but like, do you actually know what this means to have like
Yeah.
a visible tattoo that people are always going to be able to see? Like,
Yeah.
you know, if your meaning is something intentional, of course, if you can make a really good case for it, that's how I would do it as a two if I was a parent. I'd be like, if you can tell me every little reason for why you want to do it and all the reasons line up and they make sense, go for it. But if
Yeah.
you're just doing it because it's cool and you want to like look cool amongst your peers, that's the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Wrong mentality to have in
Yeah.
the first place. I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
So,
let's get into it.
well, what?
The Bunde, man.
Oh yeah, what's going on? One by
You
one.
put a few guys on blast.
Yeah, but I'll never reveal names.
I mean, they know who they are.
As if they're
They know exactly who they are.
Yeah, well, you know, they never gave me the time or day to actually tell them that to their face. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in a podcast episode.
I missed this. Where are we? Because the audience
So,
might have not tuned into this episode of.
It
Beach
was like
Brown
she
Girl
had like
Guilt.
one weird date where
Well, I mean, this last season was the whole season.
yeah.
Was all about my dating life.
Yeah, so it was like it was one weird guy showed up with a laptop
Yeah.
and he's like stocks or something.
You want to explain?
Yeah, so it was an episode titled like My Worst Date.
Yeah, yeah.
And I talked about 2 bad dates in this episode, and then this buddy guy like shows up. It's like a
Buddy
Friday
guy.
night. It's like a Friday night. Okay, Friday night at like 8 p.m. at like a coffee shop in Surrey with his laptop, opens up his laptop, starts checking his stocks and stuff while we're on the date. And in hindsight, I'm like, what stock market is open at Friday
They're
at
down,
8
yeah,
p.m.,
I'll tell
right?
you
They're
that
all
much.
closed, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just about like how ridiculous that date was. And he brought his laptop and he sat down. He was trying so hard to be so cool. But the entire time, like we were only there for an hour and a half, he like trauma dumped about his entire life the entire time. Talked about his like mom and dad's relationship, how his relationship with his dad isn't good, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, why am I like, what is this?
While
Like,
he's doing stocks.
yeah, while he's like moving his mouse around.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. And well, here's the thing about putting him on blast. That guy, like I said in the episode too, he didn't listen to me for more than 5 minutes. He actually has no idea what I do in life. So he probably doesn't even know I have a podcast.
Imagine that guy, the stock he was looking up. Now he's like a fucking millionaire, man. Now he's like, I made it.
I think all the stocks are like pretty down right now.
Right now, yeah, shit.
So.
Yeah, this is like early.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so like, okay, wait, does that sort of dating still happen?
Like what? Like,
Where like it's a formal like first date sort of thing?
bro, what do we know, man?
I've never really had a I don't think I've really had a date like that.
You know, fuck
Oh, I've been on
that.
so many first dates.
So what is this first date thing, man? Why? Like, why? What is it? Why can you not find that guy that's gonna stick with you? Why does he? What the?
I don't know.
What the hell?
If I knew, you think I'd be single?
So you are openly like looking for?
You know,
Is
okay.
it like the guy, or is it just maybe like I just want
The
to?
viewers might want to know.
Yeah, trust me.
Yeah.
Bunde.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm 26 now.
Yeah.
I've been obviously dating since I was like 18 or 19, right? Like seriously dating. I've never actually been in a relationship. So that's because dating is just so casual now. It is so like left and right swiping on your phone, meeting up with one another. If it works, it works. If you don't, then you just never talk to each other again. Dating has become so casual, and hookup culture is so popular right now where you're just talking to each other to hook up.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've done like the like really casual dating for a long time now. I think now I'm in a place in my life now where I'm like, oh, and I say this openly, like I'm ready for a meaningful relationship. I'm ready for like a meaningful partnership.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have to like this guy has to be my husband, this guy has to be the one that I marry, but I just feel like I'm sick and tired of the first dates and like the
Like,
Yeah,
if you're
it's
gonna
stupid
do
shit,
it,
you
you're
know?
gonna like try to do it. At least. Put your
Yeah,
100% in, not just be like, all right, whatever. Because do you ever feel like sometimes on those first dates that you went on that maybe because you just had that first date mentality that even maybe sometimes you would kind of put the guy off too, or it just all just didn't work out?
It just wasn't like me, like it just, there was no substance for me to want to see him again. Like it wasn't like, oh, okay. Like sometimes I've met a guy and I'm like, I don't like him romantically, but he's such a cool person and I want to be friends with him. That
Yeah.
happens very rarely.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Then you gotta have the whole awkward conversation like, oh, we're friends.
Hey, you want to be buddies?
Yeah. But like, but really rarely, like I think this is also like sometimes this is a thing between like brown people too. Is
Yeah.
like I can talk about all of those relationships that I had on a podcast because I've learned from them, and if I see them out in public, I genuinely like meet them with love.
Still dap them up, yeah. So
Say that again?
Still dap them up, you know, like
Yeah,
good friends. Yeah.
Like I still will be like, hey, like what's up? Like how's your
Yeah.
life or whatever?
Yeah.
Because I'm over it. Like I don't hold anything against
The
them.
brown men will hold on to it.
Yes, so that's the thing. Like
the
they'll
ego.
they'll like look at you and they'll just be like, yo, what up? Like whatever,
Yeah,
right?
especially if you reject.
How many hearts have you broken? A lot, right?
Be honest. Like, what's a solid number? How many hearts?
Do you feel like
I have
you've
to be-
ever done it like
No, I have
really
to
bad to
be-
someone?
Yeah, she has. Yeah, she has.
I can think of like two like
Damn.
that I've broken that are
How
really
bad
bad.
was it? Like, was he like crying to the point where is it like?
No,
was it,
he
like,
never cried in front of me.
But he did.
I think he cried.
Oh.
I think he was like really sad for a little while. Like his mom and dad were concerned for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why'd you break his heart?
It just wasn't a right fit. He was like really like just not the right fit.
What is
and-
the right fit then? Because we keep talking about all the negatives here.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
what
What is the
your
positive?
dream-
Because it's like because if it's from all these little dates and nothing's coming kind of into fruition, I guess.
Mhm.
Oh, nice word.
That was a good word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Word of the day. Fruition.
Fruition.
I can't spell it, but
F-R-U-I.
Fruition.
anyways, what was I saying?
So what's like okay?
What's
what
a
are we-
positive?
What
Like,
are we
what's your
looking
dream
for?
guy?
What are you?
I want to say dream because like
Not there's no such thing as
there's
a
no
dream.
such thing. Yeah.
We're on the
You
same
have to
wavelength.
adjust and compromise.
Yeah.
See Monty style.
Oh, see, Monty's bad though, man.
Yeah.
Her win
But
record's
she's
low.
for his facts, yo. Like you'll find maybe 80% and 20% you gotta fucking deal with it, man.
Y'all might think I'm crazy for this, but now where I'm at right now,
Mm-hmm.
so like who I was looking for when I was younger was like the fairy tale shit, right? Like, oh, I want like a hot guy, I want this, I want that, like I want him to be like a prince or whatever, like Bollywood style, right? But I think that is so unsettling because you know, here's the thing: whatever you're asking the universe of, it'll always bring it to you. That's the thing. But it's up to you to discern whether something is good for you or not. So like I was getting all the kind of guys that I wanted, but then I would like see them and I'd spend time with them and I'd be like, okay, but actually this isn't what I want because there was no safety. Like I couldn't really be myself around them. And so you might think I'm crazy, but like now, even though I'm young and I'm 26 and I have a whole life to live still, I'm actually looking for the father of my children, to be honest.
I mean, that's at that point. The biggest thing I heard is like you wouldn't want
Respect, yo.
to. You wouldn't want to be with someone.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I need to be able to.
What are you looking for?
Top G.
Top G. I know what you're looking for.
Oh, my brother says that shit.
19-year-old man.
No, but I am because
Yeah.
I want, you know, we get with people, we marry them, and then we realize too late that our values aren't the same. And then you're telling your kid one thing, and then
And
they're
he's
telling
telling
another,
another
and you're
thing.
like, oh fuck, I made the wrong choice.
Yeah.
So right now, when I look out, and I'm like 90, this is so bad, but 95% of
Say
the
it
time when
all.
I go out, there's nobody in the room that I'm attracted to. There's nobody in the room that I'm like, this person, ibn dalada,
Is
right?
this a 95% right now? You'd say.
No, I'm okay. This is a safe environment, okay? This is not the purpose.
I'm
This is
just
not the
saying-
intention.
I'm just saying, like 95, I'm guessing.
Only if I'm like out at a
So why
restaurant, at a
not?
party, at a bar, whatever, right?
Or is
Like,
this a 5%? Just out of curiosity.
no, every time I walk into a room, I'm like, okay, like I'm not interested in any of these guys. You know?
Cheers to that.
Oh man.
Harpo thinks the Bains and beers are the 95.
That's nice, man.
I mean, okay, why you would want that? If you want to marry, you're gonna marry the women you see raising your kids.
I also want to add on to this. You're also in a state that you can't just look at it like, all right, this is the fucking person, lock in, and that's it for the rest of my
Because
life.
there's a time for that, right?
Yeah.
There's a time for that. One of
'Cause
my episodes was my best situationship. It didn't work out, but I still look back at that. I'm like, that was such a good experience.
What's
like,
the situationship?
it's the stupidest word in the world, but it's like when you guys are like dating each other, you're not attached. You could be seeing other people, but like you have mutual respect for one another, right? There is love there, there's care there,
Yeah.
but you're not exclusive and you're not in a relationship. Like I think I went on like maybe like 4 or 5 dates with him
Yeah.
over the span of a couple months, and we didn't talk all the time, but we
Yeah.
did text and we would sometimes talk on the phone or whatever. And
FaceTime.
it was a situation. No, we actually never FaceTime.
Okay, I have a question. Is attachment healthy? I don't think that's healthy though.
Attachment?
Yeah.
No, absolutely
No,
not.
right?
This is what I was going to say about dating. So there is a time for that, as long as you can do it when you're not attached. If you can date and be like, I'm just learning about what I like, it's not good to not date either. It's so good to date because otherwise then you're looking out and you're like, oh, I don't know what I like. I don't know what my type is, right? But you go on these dates long enough and you can be like, oh, I didn't like that about him, but I did like all these other things. Or I liked that one thing, but I didn't like everything else. And then you can form that dream partner for yourself in those experiences.
But like you're saying though, the bickering and fighting, bro, I think the situation is this: if two people are together and they're constantly bickering, fighting, but then they like still find a way to be like, okay, well, we're like, the 5% that's good, is because both of them don't know how to walk away.
Yeah.
So I feel like they both don't know how to love themselves.
Yes.
They haven't found love within themselves. So that's why they constantly come back around,
Wow,
even
okay,
though it's
that's good.
toxic. You know what I mean?
100%. Because if you loved yourself enough, you would be like, okay, I love this person, but we're not good together,
No.
and I'm gonna remove myself from the situation,
Yeah.
right? And like the last episode that I just recorded, he asked me for my Snapchat. That's the last episode of Brown Girl Guilt. Now that will go down in history. I quoted a Drake song from the song "Doing It Wrong," and
Yeah.
it goes, "We live in a generation of not being in love and not being together, but we sure make it feel like we're together because we're scared of seeing each other with somebody else." That's what Drake says, and that is so true because it's ownership. It's attachment. I don't want to see you with somebody else, so I'm just going to stick this bad relationship out. I also don't think I'm deserving enough of a good relationship or think that I'm going to be able to find somebody else, so I'm just going to tough it out and stay here.
Yeah.
Right? And I've never done that. I've never settled. And to your point of how many hearts have I broken, I've had my heart broken more than I've broken hearts, 100%. Because I just stayed in a place where, because I didn't have true, genuine love for myself, like it's only very recent that I just realized I deserve a lot.
Yeah.
But that's because I work on myself every day. But for a long time, I just accepted bullshit and I expected the bare I just accepted the bare minimum because that's what I thought I was
I
deserving
mean, you
of.
just broke all of our hearts just a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
95% club,
95%
baby.
club.
That's the title of this episode. 95% club.
95% club. Okay, let's. Okay, you still haven't told us.
Yeah.
What kind of man are you looking for? Does he have to be okay? Is he brown?
Yes.
Has to be brown.
Unfortunately, I'm attracted to
Okay.
Punjabi men.
Why? I wanna get into that.
Fucking
too.
why not?
Why I'm attracted to Punjabi men?
Yeah, why?
We look great.
That's just my type.
I'm sorry, Dad.
It's just my type. It's my
But
type.
do you think that has to do with the cultural norm too?
I feel like if I was raised differently, I might be able to be open,
Yeah.
right? But I think it's actually less of what I've been expected of, because if I liked someone that wasn't brown enough, I could make a strong case for him, right, at home. But I love being a Punjabi. I love Punjabiat so much. I love the culture. I love the language. I love the music. I love the food. I love the holidays. I'm so desi on the inside that I want to share that, and I want to pass that on into my children. Yes, of course, this other person who's not brown could learn it and could have a love for it, but that natural, intuitive sense that comes with it. I mean, there's obviously Punjabi guys that I've dated who didn't speak Punjabi and stuff. Even then, I was like, oh, like, would you be willing to learn? Because that's just how I move through the world. And I'm not saying that that's like the ultimate thing that will like determine whether or not, but I do see myself with a Punjabi person because I think like I want to have that kind of a life.
Yo, she's good.
Yeah, I know. She was so
You see-
liberal.
that was a very good like way to like say
Yeah.
that, but in a good way.
Yes.
But then.
Definitely
Because it's not
general
to be like
manager
it's not to be like
vibes, yeah.
like
So
listen,
basically,
yeah.
he's too different than how we are.
He's too different. He won't be able to, in the same way that, sorry, Dan, I would never marry a white person.
You are a heartbreaker. Holy
She been
in the
breaking
same
hearts.
way, in the same way that I wouldn't be able to relate to somebody who was not that culture. I think it's just a language. Like I think it's just like I would have to spend so much of my relationship translating why I am the way that I am, or why I think the way that I think.
Or why
You
certain
feel like
things-
you won't get accepted by that person because they won't understand how you are. When you know it's just a
Yeah.
Punjabi chilling, like you understand what the fuck's
There's some
going
things
on.
that they're gonna do that you're gonna be like, yo, why you doing that?
Yeah, they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
wait, you're your mom's mom? Why?
Yeah.
They'd be like, why? What do you mean by that? Because I am. Like, I've really been there for my mom in a way where, I've mothered her more than she's mothered me in certain ways. And I want a man to be able to understand that and not question it, not resent me for it, not get mad at me for it, but understand that the way I move through the world is rooted in that experience.
Why would someone get mad at that though?
What?
They don't
above
get to
that?
get mad
It's
at
not-
it,
no,
but they might not
understanding,
understand it.
Saying
right?
like, oh,
Yeah.
like yo, like why is your though that's your mom, end of the day, blah blah blah, this and that. Why you talking?
Or, like, listen
this,
to it.
shit like that. Like I'm sure you've had brown guys.
Why are you
Like,
talking back?
if you opened up to brown guys about like some
She
of these
opening up to
things,
us, man.
no, yeah. I was saying, have you opened up to brown guys, like in your like dating lives, etc. And have you ever like received like kind of like a weird kind of backlash in a way? Because not every single person is going to be this open, right?
Yeah.
And do you ever receive like kind of like comments, or is it kind of just they just kind of just shy away or whatever?
Well, I think I'm always growing and I'm always changing. So the awareness that I have today is not the awareness that I had with the last
Yesterday.
guy that I was seeing a few months ago.
Makes sense.
And so first and foremost, it's never gotten beyond a certain amount of time where we could have started opening up. And that's also like the shitty thing about dating is like it takes forever to get comfortable, forever to like just be homies. But I think that the openness that I have and the understanding and awareness that I have actually scares a lot of brown guys away. And this is also why I'm single.
I was gonna
I
say
think.
that too.
Yeah, I think this is also why I'm single too.
But bro,
intimidating.
the Bandak has a bigger chance. He'll walk into a date possibly knowing her more than she
Yeah.
knows him.
Yeah.
Why? Because her life's out there.
Yeah.
You don't hold back. You talk about your sex life. You talk about like
And it's-
everything.
And it's
right?
like for the banda, yeah, we can say like I can say he can say we're like, yeah, I'm gonna walk into the room, I'm gonna come on the date, like well I don't give a fuck. Like she does this, she does
Yeah.
that. Mentally, bro,
Yeah.
it's gonna fuck
He's
with
shitting
it.
it.
To
And you know,
it.
I've had experiences
Yeah.
like where, like, okay, so I've been on Bumble and Hinge. And
See, you get what I'm saying?
I've
She'll
never been.
open-
How is
no,
that?
She
Yeah.
no brown girl. I've never heard like the way she's accepting that. A lot of girls wouldn't.
Well, where the fuck
Why?
do you think these brown guys find everyone
But
from?
because
no girl's
we-
gonna say it, bro.
yeah,
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
carry
why.
a lot of shame and guilt around it, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're
of
not
course.
supposed to do that. So yeah, so I've been on Bumble and Hinge, and a guy messaged one of my best friends and was like, "Yo, the Harpo's on Bumble," and she was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "That's pretty bold of her. Like she's like who she is, and she's on Bumble." I don't know why I'm talking like that, but you know. And she was like, "Well,
He's a
she-
Surrey Jack.
he's a Surrey Jack." She's like, well, "She's a person. She wants
Yeah.
to date. She wants to experience partnership. Who gives, right? Who gives a fuck?" So then there's that, right? So then when I'm on
The guy
it,
should have
I'm,
just shot his shot, man.
I'm cognizant.
Wendy, how many times have you seen any girl post, "This is not my profile on Bumble. I am not on Bumble. Please don't like they
Man,
themselves."
probably just their boyfriends fucking sending them screenshots. And
Yeah,
they're just
could
trying to post on Instagram. No, honey,
Could
it
be.
wasn't me. Look
It
at this
wasn't
big
me.
account.
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
So there's that, right? And then there's been times where I'm like talking to a guy on Bumble or Hinge. He asks me for my Instagram, and as soon as I give him my Instagram, he's unmatched me, or he's seen my Instagram and he followed me, and
Yeah.
then we stopped talking because he'll be like, "Oh, this is too much," right? Not in a bad way where like I'm too much, but like this is too much. For
You're a
me.
You
strong
know, this is a
personality.
shame that you say in like kind of the Tinder thing or in Bumble or whatever.
Yeah, Bumble Hinge, yeah.
It's kind of the same for brown guys.
Yeah, bro, it is.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the friends around that I know that have been on it personally,
They get
we've been
hated on.
blessed enough not to have to use these apps. And
But
Tell
see,
me your
what you
secrets.
just said right now,
Yeah,
blessed
see?
enough,
And I just said, "Tell me your secrets."
right? So that's the way
Unbelievable.
the way we naturally
what?
like
Shame
we
people.
we shame in a sense because like
Yeah, we're a shamer.
we he just did it and he didn't even realize it, right? So I feel
Because
like
we're afraid to admit that we want.
and
partnership.
and
but
then
you know what
it's-
it is
yeah.
in our bunda circles. Bunda's like savages, right?
Yeah.
And they judge the fuck out of everyone.
Yeah.
Bunday, I feel like talk more than girls sometimes. But like he said that it's because a lot of guys, like if we have 10 guys in a circle, one guy's on Tinder, everybody's talking about that guy,
Yeah.
making fun of him or whatever it is, low key.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
oh,
oh, this,
he has to go on Tinder to
I
get.
didn't know that about guys.
Yeah, man, guys do
It's
that.
it's not
Guys
it's
are
not
bad.
some, well I mean I don't know the type of other people that, but just when I've seen a personal experience, it's just always a little thing like, oh, like that's how you're like, you know,
But like, how are
doing
you
your
supposed
thing.
to find people?
Exactly.
Realistically.
But the thing is,
Instagram. Okay,
yeah.
fine. I'm on
Instagram's
Instagram.
hard.
But then,
Yeah.
actually, I had this fucking point the other day too. I was talking to somebody. Was I talking? I don't know if I was talking to you. I was talking to somebody, and I was like, if you're Instagram hunting, it's the same shit.
It is.
Theoretic, or what's the word?
Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically,
as
it's
a-
the
as
same
a-
shit.
Yeah.
What's the difference that you have a
Yeah.
little bit less
Well, bro,
shame because you're
Instagram's
just
hard.
following someone on
Well,
Instagram?
if you think about it, we're all looking at pictures of people, so it's
Pixels.
already like digital, and then it's what you're projecting. Like you'll see a picture and like you'll start to, like your brain will start to trigger something that's like, oh, I've seen someone like him in a movie or in a TV show or in real life or something like that, and so you create a personality for them in your head. And for me, 9 times out of 10, I have loved the idea of the guy more than I've actually liked the guy.
Facts.
100%. And then you
Yeah.
actually get on the date, you're like, oh, actually, yeah, no, you know.
That's not it.
But like when you're out and about, when you're meeting people, like I'm so open to guys coming up to me at like a bar, at a club, or like
They
at a
don't do that
restaurant,
out
whatever.
here.
But they don't. But like
Yeah.
they just don't do it.
But
and
but I'll be honest though, a lot of girls aren't open to that idea,
yeah.
right? So a
We
lot
had
of,
some single times too.
yeah,
where
but bro,
we were fucking-
everybody looks at me as if I'm like some asshole.
Yeah.
I come off like I've heard it millions of times where everybody's like, we thought you're like an asshole, like you're just like.
But I think it's also because they're also worried for their personal safety a little bit too, right?
What do,
Yeah.
Not you, not you,
oh,
not you especially.
Yo, okay, Bindi Johal over
But, like,
here.
girls
Just worry
are-
about your safety, buddy.
But you know, like not everyone has a positive experience with a guy coming
Yeah.
up to her, right? In a club, like
no,
the amount
in
of times
sense,
I've
like,
been,
anybody
you know,
that I talk to,
yeah,
like how was your first impression of me,
yeah, you're a nice guy.
right? I don't
Yeah.
get that a lot. A lot of
Yeah.
girls are like, he's standoffish, he's
But that's
I
also
don't. I'm
because
an
a lot of
introvert.
but people personalize it, right? They internalize it. They'll take it as a personal thing, like I've done something wrong. Now, here's the difference between like the way I viewed you and somebody else. I'm very secure. I know that you have nothing that I don't already have, and the fact that we're already sharing space means we're like we're vibing on the same wavelength, right? So like I have nothing to lose, and I also like feel like I have a lot to gain from just being by you. But I'm secure enough to be like, "Hi, I'm Harpo. What's up?" Right? Not everybody is like that, right? And so they'll project like a defensiveness on, and also like like a lot of girls, like I've been in many situations where I was just minding my own business, and a dude that looks just like you came up to me and like touched me inappropriately or said something to me, or was like like aggressive, right?
You look like some
I saw you,
bro.
That cabana.
So they'll just you know, it's just a protective mechanism. But I think we all get so caught up in like personalizing the thing that we write each other off, and like we're missing human connection in that way. I really think that.
How have you grown to that where you are so secure with yourself that like you're just like, fuck man, I could walk into any room and
God's
say,
grace.
hi, my name is Harpo?
Yeah,
Because you probably weren't always like that.
No, I wasn't.
So what was like the switch?
I don't actually even know how to trace it. Like if I really think about
It's
it.
kind of gradually.
Yeah, gradually. I feel like God's intervention is also like huge. Like sometimes I feel like I'm such a special human being because I've been granted all this awareness. I think it also has a lot to do with like I'm just a very curious person, and I don't know, like I work on it. It's not something that just happens. Like today I'm feeling confident, but then maybe tomorrow, if I had done this podcast episode tomorrow, maybe I wouldn't have been confident then. But I think you have to like work on that relationship with yourself, and you have to become your own best friend, and self-love is a practice. You do it every single day. I think it's just having discipline. It's just having discipline and like wanting to meet yourself intimately, because the relationship that you have with yourself is a relationship that you have with other people. How you speak to yourself is how you speak to other people. Like if you guys were to do something that was like, you know, like if you guys did something or you said something that was wrong or whatever, I wouldn't like completely write you guys off, right? I wouldn't be like, you guys suck.
Have we said anything yet?
No, you haven't.
I feel like that's like low key. Like,
No, you haven't.
She's-
But
I
that's
feel like
because
yeah.
I know that I make mistakes, and just because I made one mistake doesn't mean I'm a bad
But you
person.
tell us if we said.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a conversation. That'd be a conversation in itself.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, and like I wouldn't be lying. I would be lying if I said I wasn't like 100% like, yeah, I'm gonna come in this podcast episode. There is hesitation. There's
Yeah.
always hesitation because you know, like sometimes spaces like these can't be safe for like brown women like me. But I saw an episode of your guys where I think were talking about like masculinity and like, you know, men being able to express themselves and how it's not right and stuff like that. So that all in and of itself made me feel safe enough, because I'm like, this guy's thinking differently. He's
you know, we have
open.
a big like. There's someone that like we both know, that's like really big in our come ups. Amneet, right? And I also, you guys had a podcast together.
Yeah, she actually built the branding for Brown Girl Guild. Yeah.
And I remember that podcast where you talked about how like basically like how what you guys hated each other or low key had like animosity towards each other, whereas like there's no really reason to have that sort of animosity.
Right.
Is that a big thing amongst brown girls, you feel?
Yeah, I think we have this like weird energy to us.
Yeah.
Like we walk by each other in public spaces and we give each other a look or we look away.
We do the
Oh, yeah.
same
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
With
That's the
guys?
thing.
Yeah. And why? Because we're insecure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. We
100%.
project it.
It has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with yourself. It's a
It's a
projection.
mechanism.
Yes. It's a protective mechanism.
97% of the time, it's
Yeah.
not a problem.
Yeah.
If
And
you just nod your head, it's not.
It
an
happens at the
issue.
gym all the time.
yeah.
Every bunda we walk
Yeah.
by, it's like it's an insecurity that we have, and like to hide it, we mask it by trying to act tough.
We also
Yeah.
go to jacked out gyms.
Gold gym, like right there.
South Surrey.
South Surrey.
Steve Nash, the old Steve Nash.
But we do that because it's our way of asserting ourselves, right? But if you were truly confident, you wouldn't have to do that. I meet people with a smile all the time, right? And when I go out, I know people know me. I know like the girl that's looking at me is probably looking at me because she listens to my podcast. She doesn't want to be weird and she doesn't want to come across as like, oh, this girl, like, I don't want her to think I'm weird or anything.
Yeah.
So I'll just go up and be like, hi, or just smile. And then that automatically invites them. It changes the entire dynamic, right?
The
And it invites
narrative.
them over.
Okay, so what I wanted to talk about is, so
we
you-
didn't finish though.
what?
She just wants a brown guy. That's it. It's
no,
her only
no. Okay, so
criteria.
yeah, what else?
That's it. We're part of the
Brown guy.
5%.
No, she's
Sorry, Dan.
Dan got
Dan. Sorry,
heartbroken. We all got our hearts broken. Man, what are you saying? She put us in that 95%. 5% she still got to see, man. She
I
hasn't met someone.
just, I want a guy that is
6'2".
No, actually, I
Doesn't
don't care
matter?
about any of that
Okay.
stuff. I want someone who is believes in something that's bigger than himself, right? Somebody who wants to build a very similar world like I want to build, has the same values as me, which are like love and joy and respect and vulnerability, and someone who's like committed to working on himself.
Okay, so you said similar world
Similar
that
world that I
you
wanna
want to
build.
build.
Yeah.
Would you have to compromise there a little bit? You feel ever?
I think it depends. It depends on like what kind of a world that he wants to build. If he's like only interested in working a 9 to 5 and putting money in his bank account and just like watching TV on a Sunday, that's not the same world that I want to build, right?
What if he wasn't comfortable with you talking about your guys' personal relationship? Would that be something that
here's
ever
the
bother
thing.
you?
Here's the thing. When I actually do get a man's, right?
We won't know.
You won't know. You won't know. I will literally post a picture and be like, hey guys, I got married yesterday. Like that's how I would do it.
Okay, well, what if you find a man perfect,
Yeah.
fits everything you want, but
There's
one,
no such thing as perfect. But
well, like whatever, right?
ideal. Yeah, that's
Ideal.
a good word. Yeah, that's a good word.
I thought I was pretty
The
The
close.
19-year-old
The
knows.
19's he's smart.
Yeah, he's
But so a guy that's ideal,
Yeah.
but he asks that you remove yourself from the public eye. Would you be willing to do that?
That's a good question.
No.
That's kind of what I
Because-
meant to say. Yeah.
Because this is part of my purpose. This is who I am. This is what I'm sent to earth to do.
Yeah.
And if he is asking me to not do that, he's asking me to shrink myself. And a partner that truly loves you for you will always want you to spread your wings and not clip them.
Okay.
So if he asks me to stop doing that, if he has boundaries where he's like, hey, I don't want our kids online and I don't want you to talk about our relationship online, those are vastly different things. That's
Yeah.
privacy, and I wouldn't want that either. Something in your life has to be sacred, right?
100%.
But if he's like, I want you off the internet, like, and there's so many examples of around us all the time of like women who are like open in public, and then they get a man, and then they're like they don't exist to the
See it
world
all the time.
all the time,
Yeah.
right? So
Seen it pretty recently.
yeah.
Mm.
So when that happens, I'm like, okay, like I'm not trading my life in for a partner. That's not how it works. They come into your life and they add value to your life. It's not that they're a step in for something else in your life.
What if he brings a different perspective? Would that happen? Is that a possibility?
Because you say you're always changing, always learning.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah. No, I still think that, this is who I am. And
Yeah.
you knew this. So like, if let's say if I marry a guy and he's an investment banker and then we're in a relationship and I'm like, I want you to give up investment banking because I don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, why did I date you in the first place? Right? Why would I do that in the first place?
You had money.
That's not what
You
drives me.
chose investment.
I mean, you said investment banker.
That's
That
direct
was
line.
an
Like,
example.
okay,
That was
so
an example.
that's another
If
thing.
he
Brown
was
guy.
Okay, he was a hockey player.
Brown guy that has money. Yeah, hockey. That's
Okay,
like
he was a
dream.
plumber. Plumbers also make money.
yeah.
What do you do? Get in the trades,
He's
boys.
a teacher in high school. Shit, I don't know.
Oh, now you're saying
There you
teachers
go.
don't make money?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say here,
I can't
Harpo?
win.
We're trying to raise the wage gap here.
I can't win. I can't win. I can't win. That's so funny.
Oh, what do you feel about that?
About what?
How you have to be the restrictions, I feel like, on freedom of speech in today's day. Do you feel like there's such a thing?
You'd have to like describe that a little bit more for me.
Kanye West. Do you
What
feel like
about him?
what he's saying?
I actually don't know what he says.
Okay, how about this? I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just in general, do you feel like, okay, cancel culture, you obviously know about it. Not saying, not being able to exactly say what you want to say all the time.
Right.
Sometimes you feel like maybe some people are holding back. Like, what are your kind of thoughts on that? Do you feel like they should be able to say whatever they want to say, even if it could come at the cost of hurting a few people's feelings, but they're saying from their perspective how they feel and think of it? Or do you think that they should be, etc., shadow banned, brought down, just kind of wiped off this social media space type
I
of
have
thing?
a very oppressive way of life, which means that what I do doesn't cause oppression to other people. That's just the way that I live my life. If what I'm saying is going to harm one group of people while uplifting another, it's oppressive in nature, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, and it's not something that you have to think about all the time. But if you're moving through your world where, there's like an example of this is like, there's a lot of people in the Punjabi community, in the Punjabi Sikh community that will hate on people who like talk about Black Lives Matter or like talk about other things. And then they'll be like, but you didn't talk about the farmers protest, right? Okay, fine. But
What the fuck did you talk about?
yeah, but like, why is that something that you're like, first of all, why are you tracking that? Second of all, if that's a cause that they believe in, that's a cause that they believe in. That doesn't mean that they don't care about other people and they don't care about other movements, right? So if what you're saying is oppressive to anybody, I don't think that it's rooted in actual meaningful change in the first place.
Yeah.
And I also don't believe in cancel culture. I believe in calling in and not calling out, because we all make mistakes. We all say
What does
some
that
shit.
mean, calling in, calling out?
Calling out is when you're like, oh, you fucked up and now you deserve to be written off and canceled.
Yeah.
Calling in is when you're like, hey, you said something that was harmful. These are the repercussions. These are the implications, and you've caused harm.
But I feel that
So-
conversation doesn't take place.
No, it doesn't, because so many of us are like so
Quick.
quick to cancel,
Yeah.
right? If I said something wrong, I would be so heartbroken if somebody canceled me and discounted everything that I've
Yeah.
done. Like, I've done a lot of good things, and if I make one mistake because I'm a human being, doesn't mean that all those good things go away.
No, because
right?
it's like you
I
how you
agree.
said about the whole police or the teachers thing, like how I brought that up, and I was like, oh well, you're trying to say teachers don't make. That's something in today's day that could be
Yeah.
on a bigger scale,
Yeah.
taken out of context, selectively that clip right there
Right.
clipped,
Right.
and be like, okay, well, Harpo thinks teachers don't make enough money
Right.
compared to investment bankers
And
Right.
plumbers.
or plumbers,
But factually, that's correct.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that's where I feel like in today's day,
But facts don't matter as much anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what situation you're
You have
talking
to be.
about.
You have to be. You have to have like. What's
You gotta
the
move
word?
a certain way.
Yeah, you have to have. You have to have. What's the word? It starts with the integrity. You have to have integrity.
Yeah.
You asked me a question. Would I marry someone from India? I said no.
yeah.
Right? It's not for me. I'm not saying that people who are from India deserve less love or don't deserve to be in relationships. There are many people who are from a different country and they marry somebody from a different country. That happens, right? But it's not for me because of very legitimate reasons for myself. Not because I think that they're gross or they're uneducated or they're this or they're that. Like, that's not why I'm saying it, right? There's a reason for it. I don't listen to Kanye. I don't pay attention to it, so I can't speak to that specifically. But I think, like, if you're scared of saying something because of how it's going to be perceived, it's probably because it's harmful in nature. And if it wasn't harmful in nature, if you truly were like, hey, like, the intention of this thing is rooted in X, Y, and Z, but the impact might be something else, then you should probably like turn it over in your head a few times and then repeat it and say it out loud in a way where it doesn't cause people harm.
But you're very educated. You have your master's.
Yeah, I
So
do.
you know how to use your words, I feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're very like, whereas not a lot of people know
But we have to
or
grant,
have that sort of education.
But I think we have to grant people grace. Like, we have to believe that not everybody is trying to hurt people. right?
Facts.
For the most part, not everybody is trying to hurt people. There are a select few of people in this world who have made it their life mission to put people down. I've been experiencing like hate for the last 3 or 4 months, I would say, 3-4 months to 6 months. People are constantly saying shit about me on Twitter, Instagram. This is the most that it's been my entire life. Yeah, this is the most. But have you ever seen me talk about it? Have you ever seen me address it?
Let's talk about it.
No, but I don't address it. I don't talk about it because I think like someone actually said to me once, when someone does something like that, imagine yourself doing that. Would you do that?
No, because it happens to me.
But would you go out of your way to talk shit about someone like publicly? Would you post a tweet?
Publicly, no.
Or would you? No, right?
No,
But you wouldn't do those things, right?
Oh, so you're saying so somebody went out of their way to talk about you publicly, like in a
Well,
way.
I'm just saying it as an example.
Yeah, okay.
So like if someone, let's say, posts an entire Twitter thread about you, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Can you imagine yourself doing that to somebody else?
No, I would
Okay,
never do
exactly.
that, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't have time for that.
So I'm like, I would never do that, right? So, and that's because I work on myself. I have a really good relationship. I have beautiful relationships in my life. I have a lot of love to offer the world. That's why I don't do that. That must mean that this person probably doesn't have it in their life. And in that way, I'm actually able to extend a lot of compassion and love to them and be like, I'm not going to feed your hate with hate. I'm just not going to.
Yeah.
You'll come to realize it one day on your own. It won't be because of me, but I'm not going to actually make it worse by feeding it for you.
Fair enough.
Has the hate over the past 3-4 months affected your decision to stop the podcast in any way?
No,
That was just completely different.
completely my own. I think that happens though when you start to come into your own power and you start to show people that you can't be fucked with. They're going to try and fuck with you even more.
Yeah, we've received hate all the time. I find it
100%.
fucking hilarious, but I'm a troll.
No,
guy.
but bro, but to be straight up, the thing is, I feel like you have a strong personality, right? You say what you feel to say. That's not a norm in our culture,
Right.
in our community.
That's
you're
not a
obviously-
norm in
And
society.
that's more of a reason specifically for men to come at you.
It's funny that you guys say that because, like, I move through the world in my body, right? So
Yeah.
I actually don't think of myself as this strong.
Yeah.
Not to say I think of myself
No,
as
because
weak, but
you're not every girl can go out there and talk about her sex life. Can they?
yeah. No,
no.
not actually. No, human beings can. Not let
No,
alone
it's
girls.
like,
I
even
don't
for
know.
guys,
That's-
it's
yeah.
it's like
yeah.
what if I was out there, I'm gonna be straight up. If I was out there talking about my sex life and stuff like that,
Please don't.
realistically, my I wouldn't be in a relationship because
Same
I'd
here,
be
bro.
looked at different.
The only time I've ever talked about my sex life is when I recorded a podcast episode
Thought
titled.
you were gonna say
ti-
record.
titled. Recorded myself.
Fuck.
No. Recorded
For
a
$9.99 a month.
Sign up to my OnlyFans. OnlyFans. No, the only time I've ever talked about my sex life is when I recorded a podcast episode titled 10 Things I Didn't Know About Sex. And it was so that people would understand 10 things about sex that they would have never understood if with or without a sex education.
But that's a huge stigma in our culture.
100%.
So everybody's like, holy shit,
yeah.
right? Like somebody like you did that.
Yeah, a brown girl did
Yeah, a brown girl did that. So
that. My
that's
mom
where,
follows me on Instagram.
right? So that's
How
where.
was that?
Yeah.
Did she ever say
Chill,
anything?
she chill.
Oh.
Was she really
Sometimes
chill?
it's a don't ask, don't tell situation. Sometimes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see that. I see
But it's
that.
not like
So
my
there is a
parents see it,
boundary.
right?
There is that boundary somewhere.
I mean, bro, it's your fucking sex life. Like, she's talking about 10 things that you learn in sex, man.
What were
Yeah.
the 10
First
things?
of all, they were
Okay,
like
10 things is a lot. Listen, what's the top
Yeah.
3?
top 3.
I have to go.
Number 1.
Oh fuck.
Do you actually want to know?
Yeah, let's talk about
What's the
it.
top 3? I'm curious now.
First and foremost, that sex is a sacred energy exchange,
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
right? You don't just, yes, you can do it with anyone.
100%,
And it
I
can
agree.
be, if you're having a one night stand, that's totally fine. But just
Yeah.
know that you're exchanging energy and that you will be impacted by it.
Hmm.
The second thing for women, especially, is that it can be for their pleasure too. Like, there's a generation of women who think that it's not for them, right? That, like, it's a two-way thing. Like, there's so many women, especially brown women, and you guys are going to giggle at this when I say this. I already know it. But they've never had an orgasm.
Oh, that's true.
They've never.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think about that.
Well, we-
Anand,
Smile.
Anand,
I didn't
because of how
smile.
uncomfortable you are.
I didn't smile.
Yo,
Because of how
Yo,
uncomfortable
bruh.
you are.
Bruh.
Straight
He, like,
face.
moved back
Yo,
and
camera,
everything.
put it on there.
Bruh.
I saw your straight face. She smirks at me to make me start laughing.
Because of how you're amazing.
Yo, you know how many brown girls probably fake it?
So yes,
Huh?
not even fake.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah,
100%.
that's true. Because they're
I don't
coming-
want to think. But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
I agree.
Sure, yeah,
right?
I agree.
And then
yeah,
the third thing is like,
I mean, I don't, yeah. I
And
No,
I
but I've
guess-
heard so many girls say that, bro.
Yeah, but everyday girls say that too, in a way. I feel
Dan,
like do you see TikToks of when girls
you
saying
tell me a
I'm
little
faking
bit.
it?
Is this like is just our community, or is this like everywhere?
Maybe you should start dating white guys.
Oh, he's mad.
that's actually so true. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie to you.
Oh,
But no.
fuck, Dan.
Whoa, why is it true?
I think that we learn a sense of men, not me, but like our community does have a heightened sense of male bravado, where it's you're conquering your partner, you're not
Yeah.
loving your partner.
Yeah, facts.
Right? And I can't remember like a third thing that I might have talked about in that episode. But I think that like there was a long time in my life where I thought not having sex was empowering and I thought having sex was empowering. And I realized that both of those things are not empowering because they're not rooted in my own agency, if that makes sense. Now this is going to be the internet forever.
Elaborate.
I'm also like, I don't like, I said this now, but like, I don't like, this makes me nervous too to say it out loud.
Why?
Because I'm a brown girl.
Who cares?
We're
but
getting
you-
rid of the guilt.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you're so right on us.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, who
Down with
cares?
brown girl guilt. Well, you know, you're told for a long time that you shouldn't have it and you shouldn't do it and that you should only do it when you're married and that even when you're married, like it's for your husband and da-da-da. So you think, okay, not having it, you're supposed to be pure on your wedding day and all these kinds of silly things, right?
Yeah.
So then you think that's what's empowering and that's what makes you, deems you respect, like worthy of respect.
yeah.
And then
Like
you
the
start
good
to have it
girl.
because you're like, oh, but like they like girls who do it, right? They
Yeah.
like girls who are chill and cool about it. And so then you start to do a lot of it. And then you realize, shit, like actually that wasn't it either. And then you get to a place in your life where you're like, okay, neither of those things were my decision, right? I wasn't doing it because I wanted to. And it wasn't rooted in like what I actually believe about myself and my body and
Yeah.
partnerships and intimacy. So then you have to come to a place, you have to graduate to a place where you're like, I'm going to do it because I want to, not because
I have a
anyone
question.
wants to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you think, because it does affect men, why do you think it affects men when women have more than like a certain number of partners? What do you think the reason is?
I don't know.
From a female.
I don't know.
What,
I don't
looking
think.
looking from the outside, what do you think?
I think it again has to do with respectability politics. I think it has to do with like your understanding of purity,
Yeah.
wherever the hell that is. And sometimes I think they're insecure too. I think they're insecure. They're like, oh, she's had so many partners, and you know.
But do you ever feel like at the same time that for a guy, if he wants that choice of saying, my partner, I only want, like, I feel like having this amount of partners I don't feel comfortable with, is that not do you feel like that shouldn't be an argument for the guy?
I think if it's your personal choice and you're not making a claim on women and their bodies and their sexuality as a whole,
Yeah.
I think that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Women also have that, right? Women
Exactly,
Are,
there's
women are
fucking-
like,
yeah.
I have a cap that I would want to have.
So women
my
have this
partner
too.
do. Yeah, women
there's
have a
fucking
cap too.
guys out
Yeah.
there.
Not
that
all
are-
women,
yeah.
but like some women have a cap as well.
Yeah.
It's if it's your personal choice and you're not making a claim on the entirety of how women should govern their bodies or how men should govern their bodies, I think you're well within your right to have a personal choice.
Yeah. You said there was a time where you're like, okay, fuck this, I'm not doing it at all. And then there's a time that you were saying like, fuck it, I'm going to go in. Do you ever feel like the time that like, fuck it, I'm going to go in, did the social media presence of like the kind of like that time with the hot girl, this and that, do you feel like that ever affected you?
Oh, like the hot girl summer?
Like those type of things?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like that influenced you a little bit in
I
a way?
think in general,
I see where you're going
that's a
with
good
this.
question.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're supposed to be
smart,
sexual.
kid.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Did you have a master's too?
Fucking, I don't even have a degree.
I think anytime you place, again, like when I use the word agency, it's like your choice, right? Like your control. Anytime you place your agency in something external to you, you've already lost. So if like the culture is telling you that like, you know, this is how you should be empowered sexually, and then you believe it, even if it's not, then you've already lost, right? So like hot girl summer, like, you know, like Cardi B's WAP, all this kind of
Kim
shit.
Kardashian?
Yeah, Kim Kardashian too. Like if that is what, if there's only one way for you to experience your sexuality and your body and your sensuality and have, experience pleasure, if that's the only way that you're meant to and you subscribe to it, it's harmful because you'll never actually know if that is the way that you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, it's a very spiritual thing. For me, it's a very sacred exchange, right? It's not something that I want to do with anybody and everybody. It's like selective, right?
More than just
It's
lust.
the 5%. Yeah.
It's you want to have lust is the worst, bro. You want
Is
to
that
have
a jab or? Wait, is she trying to tell me something? She
I'm just
looked right
following
at
the
me.
thread.
She looked right
I'm
at
following
me.
the
She's
thread.
like, it's the 5%.
I'm following the thread.
I don't-
But yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
again, like if like the world is designed to tell you how you should be and what
Yeah.
you should think, right? So you have to think for yourself, okay, what do I truly find empowering? What do I truly find to be pleasure, or like how do I feel about sexuality and what do I think about my body, right? You can't keep letting other people dictate it for you.
Yeah, that's true because I feel like even sex is like
It is an energy
The purity's
exchange,
gone away from it.
100%. Yeah, the pure. You're
the
right.
purity's
bro.
like not in a sense where I feel like even for men and women, not just women,
Yeah.
for men and women. Like now it's just go.
I
chase.
believe that the men's problem more it comes on the pornographic side of things.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does.
And growing up
Yeah,
and
100%.
learning things,
But it's
how-
also who you're
how-
around.
what
bro.
you see and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Growing up,
So-
it's a game. Yo, did you?
Yeah.
When's the
Yeah.
first time
You watch the
Yeah.
fucking Kim Kardashian video.
Yeah.
Ray J, Bangs, KK, whatever.
Kim
Yeah.
K, yeah.
Yeah.
It was all that kind of stuff,
We live in a
right?
very pornified world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Right?
it.
Yeah.
Objective in a sense.
Yes, yeah. And so even if you think about like when you're watching porn, you're getting aroused from watching something.
Yeah.
You're not actually experiencing it. It's the same thing as
Yeah.
dating digitally.
Do
if
girls
you
watch
think
porn?
about it.
Like my boy
100%.
Vikram
Yeah.
G says.
Yeah.
So you
You're-
guys objectify in a sense too.
Well, again, it's what you subscribe to, right?
Yeah.
So if we're like, oh, men watch it and women should be able to watch it too, but you're watching the same stuff, you're being brainwashed by the same thing, right?
You need God.
Gurdwara.
Bro, I feel
Gurdwara.
like that is like the main missing component
What?
in everyone's life.
You know, Hindsight said that. Remember?
Fuck, I feel the same way.
His girlfriend actually talked about it too, 'cause she's like, nowadays sex is so normalized,
Yeah.
and like everybody's chasing the lust of it,
Yeah.
and the pureness is gone.
And
It's not a
you-
connection anymore.
I feel like people they can't because you don't if you don't develop a relationship. I don't understand how you can even have it without developing a relationship in the first place.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that chemistry, like I get, yeah, people do have one night stands, like sort of just personal level, but it's just like when you have like when you have it in the other way, it's like it's not lust, right? It's like it's love, right?
Yeah.
It's bad.
But even if it isn't love, right?
Yeah.
There's a sense of respect and intimacy that you're experiencing with somebody.
Mm.
You have to remember that like it is the energy exchange, you're exchanging of the energy, right? And I used to think to myself when I wasn't having sex at all, there would be people around me that would have so much of it all the time, and for a second, I would internalize it and be like, there's something wrong with me if I'm not having it, right? But then I would look at it and I'd be like, but these people actually don't know what it is. They don't know what it means. They don't know. They're just doing it for the sake of doing it because they're supposed to do it. And imagine knowing that at 17, 18, right? When I recorded this 10 things I didn't know, girls who were 17, 18, but then also women who were in their 40s and 50s were like, I didn't even know that. Wow, those 10 things, I didn't know them. Can you
Yeah.
imagine like a woman in her 40s? She'd been having sex for like maybe half of her life, but didn't actually know those things.
Yeah.
So you move through the world so differently, and like I know it's like taboo to talk about, but it's like it's a part of your life. It's a part of your body. It's the way that you experience world. It's how life is
It's
actually
how we
created.
procreate, yeah.
Yeah, it's how life is
That's what it says in
created, right?
Safety, procreate.
And it's like something that
Yeah,
you do
let's
with
not get
somebody
into
that you
that.
love, like not all the time, but it is something that you do with someone that you're exchanging energy with. What did you say, Adam? I missed it.
No, because in
He said-
Sikhi,
he
it
said
says,
Sikhi, I said, let's not get into
Don't
that.
quote me on this, but in Sikhi it talks about how sex is only to procreate, right? Which is like that's just a whole rabbit hole, I think, in itself. But
I didn't read that part of
she's like, I didn't get to that part yet.
Yeah.
We got lost in translation.
So anyway, that's the kind of man I want.
Yeah.
You still haven't really described
Yes,
it.
I did.
No,
I
you said
did.
brown. That's
You
it.
just said
No, I
some.
didn't. I said someone who wants to build. No, I didn't say race.
Okay,
first
you
of all.
said some guy that
Someone who wants
Straight
to
teeth.
build the same sort of world that I want to build,
Mhm.
has similar values, who cares about something bigger than himself, And what I mean by that is like everything that I do is not driven by like money, greed, lust, nothing. It's like I want to build a world that I want to live in, right? And I want my children to live in. And somebody who's like really open and committed to like working on himself, who like has like an understanding of the way that he is and why he is the way that he is, you know, and somebody who's confident.
Yeah.
Like, you know, someone who's like, I don't actually chase like external things. Like, I don't care how tall he is. I mean, I want him to be attractive to me. I don't want him to be
Yeah, you
like,
gotta be
you know,
attractive.
You
I have to be attractive
You
to
gotta fucking
him.
wake up to buddy, you know, everything.
Like, he has to be someone that I'm attracted
yeah,
to.
it's
Yeah.
real talk.
Yeah, but like I want someone who has like good friends, like, you know, and like understands his family. He doesn't have to have the perfect family because we're all a little bit traumatized, but like has an understanding of it and like is not stuck in his like, you know, he's on a journey. He's on a journey. He, even if he's like not as advanced in his spirituality and his practice of self-love as me, at least he's open
But then
to
that's the
learning.
beauty of it, because I feel like you've done so much work on yourself. Even if there's someone that you feel isn't there, wouldn't
Yeah.
you be willing to help them get there?
100%.
But then I also read something the other day that I was watching this TikTok, right? It was this guy named Rod Wave. I don't know if you heard his music, right? It's a hip hop guy, right? And he's sitting there talking on a podcast just like this interview, and he's saying that I can't trust women because I got whatever fucked over, blah blah blah. So when you come on here, he's like, it's not even on you. I just have all this baggage, everything like that. But then I was looking in the comments, and they're saying like, but like, isn't that kind of on you to kind of work on yourself before you throw that and dump that on somebody like you who's already worked on that stuff, and you can offer that healing energy, but then at the same time that could just suck it all out of you.
Do you feel that cheating has become normalized in today's society?
Has cheating become normalized? I don't know. I've never cheated or never been cheated on.
Never had that?
No, I've never been in a relationship.
She can't get cheated on.
Oh,
I've never
you've
been in a relationship. It's
Isn't
always been
dating
a-
basically like
Nah, it's always situationships and da-da-da, and we're talking to other people.
Okay, so
and
do
all
you
this
just get in
shit.
situationships so you don't get hurt?
oh.
No, I ended up getting hurt in the
therapy session.
situationships.
You like that one? Oh, that was
No,
me.
Anand, I get into the situationships and I get
She
hurt.
said Anand. That's the first time I've heard someone say your name right.
I
Anand.
said it like 3 times.
Yeah.
How do people say it? Anand?
Nandi.
Anand.
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 I went to high school here in Surrey, white teachers.
Yeah. I'm very committed to speaking Punjabi the way
I
it's
love
meant to
it.
be spoken. Yeah. Ajay.
Ooh. See, I hate when people call me agent.
I call him
I
AJ
get
all the
that.
time.
Rajan.
Roger.
Dan.
That was right, actually. You got that right.
I can't believe you pronounced her.
Hadpreet.
So why Harpo?
Because Harpo is the identity that I've made
We're
for
all
myself.
over the fucking place.
Yeah, Harpo's
Yeah.
the
No,
identity I made
let's
for
go back to
myself.
cheating.
So cheating.
I think it's become normalized.
I think cheating is also rooted in fear and insecurity. Everything comes back to that.
So you cheat because you're
Insecure.
of rejection?
Basically, she's saying everyone get your fucking shit together.
Yeah, get your fucking shit together, all right?
That's what she's come down.
You know what it is? We all have some sort of trauma.
Hmm.
There is no human being that has not experienced trauma. And this trauma is rooted in a story. So, no, this trauma creates a story that you tell yourself about yourself, right? For me, my story is I'm not good enough. That's my story, right? So if I'm not good enough, I can cheat based on that, right? If my partner thinks he's not good enough, he can cheat based on that. Cheating is rooted in fear and insecurity. I seldom think that cheating is rooted in, oh, I just wanted to do that. Right? It's always rooted in something.
Yeah.
It's bigger than what I think meets the eye. And
But I
so
think for you too, I'll be honest, you know yourself so much. You have this expectation of a banda.
no,
That's
I
what I'm
don't.
saying.
That's
How are
near
you gonna meet
perfection.
that?
I don't.
I'm gonna be honest, it's near perfection.
Yeah,
No, I
you
don't. I
describe
don't.
like
It's
a real.
hard.
Listen, I
Because you
don't.
love yourself so much, right? To a point where you love, like, you've done all that healing. Whereas people start doing that healing later on in life.
I have a
right?
question. Have you seen like this guy that you're describing? Have you just seen like parts of this guy in different guys, or have you seen this full guy before that? Like I
I-
could see myself with this guy, like whether it's a situationship, whether it's fucking.
This is a 95%
buddy,
here.
but
so-
yeah, obviously not happening in
I
this
mean,
room.
we all relate.
But fuck, now I forgot what I was saying.
No,
But
that's a really good question.
yeah, exactly.
That's
You
a
know
really
what
good
I'm saying.
question.
Yeah.
I will say that every guy that I've dated had the potential to be the bunda. He did. But he fumbled the bag.
What do you mean?
He got
How?
his own way.
How?
He got in his own way.
So it's like something,
He just didn't think he was good enough to be with a woman like me.
he wasn't confident enough.
That
So
was
is
all.
that the main obstacle that you face? Is that you were so confident in who you are as a woman.
So you're telling me our Korea?
Listen, I will
telling-
say, I have to say something though. I have to say something
Yeah.
that they can also say that about me too. Like, of all of them that I've dated, they can
Ooh, that's
probably,
good. You're smart.
they can sit
way
there.
To, way to catch yourself there.
But they can sit there and be like, Harpo was too insecure. Harpo was too clingy. Harpo was too attached. Harpo didn't understand what it means to be casual or take it slow. Because I also prescribe to a certain way of being in a relationship, right? So this is why I say, because I'm able to extend myself grace to be like, Harpo, we were just learning, and it's okay that we made a mistake. We learn and we move. I can say that. I don't know if they can say that about themselves,
Yeah.
right? Like, for example, like I recorded an episode about this, so I'm open about it, but I was majorly ghosted really recently.
Oh.
I'll never have a chance to say to
Where
him,
you at, buddy?
"Yeah, where are
people
you?"
Still, people still ghost?
Yeah, people ghost.
Yeah.
People still ghost. I was majorly ghosted recently,
I see
and
it.
I can see where I was wrong, but I can also see where he was wrong. If he was to walk by me and be like, Harpo, you were wrong, I'd be like, yeah, I was. I'm so sorry. But like, that's who I was then, and
How
I'm
are
not
you
that
wrong?
anymore.
What'd you do?
I think
Let's
again,
talk about. I feel like experiences.
Yeah.
People can relate to that.
I want to learn.
yeah, how I was wrong was, yeah, I just didn't think that I was deserving of better, you know?
Yeah.
And so he was very upfront since the beginning of what he could offer, and I kept projecting on him and thinking that he could offer
would
me
change?
more,
Yeah.
and that he would change. I really thought, like, I can do this, I can do this, I can gift him this, I can gift him that, I can plan this, I can plan that, and then he'll like me.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to do any of that. I am who I am, and I'm
Yeah.
inherently lovable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not me, but everybody is just lovable for who they are. So if I had thought that, and if I had maintained that, then I wouldn't have to go, and I wouldn't have to stifle him so much, you know?
Mm.
Damn, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. And this is why, I can record a podcast episode about all of it, because there's nothing you can tell me about myself that I don't already
That's
know.
what I'm saying. You're
That's what I'm
strong. You have
saying,
a
like
strong
how-
personality,
Yeah.
and you
It's
love yourself.
It's gonna have to be a certain type
Yeah.
of guy. That's what I'm coming
near,
to a conclusion.
Like, perfection.
Right, Dad?
You know, I truly think that it's going to be sometimes I think it's going to be a long time.
Because let's be honest.
And does that bother
Throughout
you?
this podcast, there
We'll get
has
to
to be
that.
one thing one of us have said that you haven't liked.
Probably
No.
me.
Nothing.
No,
Okay.
nothing.
I thought maybe one of us have said
No,
because
no,
we.
nothing.
Fucking guy points at me.
No, there hasn't been anything.
what,
No.
what has Dan said, man? You said his name a couple times.
Does that make me sad, you said?
Heartbreaker.
Does it bother you that like, hey, like I here, I kind of want to be here, and like what I also wanted to touch on was, I feel like you're not the type of person who really like. I'm gonna be honest. I might judge a little bit here, right? But it's not a mean judge. It's a nice judge. It's like saying like
Thank you.
you're not gonna like. I feel like you're
Compromise.
not the person you
that's
you don't genuinely enjoy these like one date offs. You're actually looking for something to be more.
Yeah,
So does
yeah,
it
yeah.
bother you that hey, like I am looking for this and looking for that, but I'm just stuck in the same cycle every single time?
I think about 3 months ago, I was like, damn, like I'm going to be single forever. This is going to suck. You know, what am I going to do? Da, da, da. But then I think in that time, what I've realized is like, I have struggled my entire life with shrinking myself. I've always been told, Harpo, you talk too much, you're too bold, you're too this, you're too that. And it's been such a battle to be like, no, I'm not. I am enough in the way that I am. And so even wanting a man by like shrinking myself in and of itself is a version of shrinking myself. Like
Yeah.
telling myself that I need to like, you know, settle. And like there was this one person in my life, he's perfect on paper. I would have had a beautiful life with him, and he really he loved me. I don't think he actually loved me. I think he liked the idea of me and like what getting me would have meant for him. It would have been like, oh, Harpo is a trophy. I'm going to put her on my shelf, and now I feel good about myself. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I wasn't with him. But if I really wanted to, I could have, like, we could have been together, right?
Done
we
the
could have,
sacrifice.
we could have done
had
it.
the
We could
nice
have had
life.
like a nice big home,
Yeah.
like got married, had a nice big wedding, everything. But I was like, no, Harpo, like, but we're not going to shrink ourselves. Like, I want to live a very principled life. And if I'm being honest, I'm not going to be forever alone. I'm not going to be single forever. I know he's out there somewhere. I believe it so much. I truly believe it. Like me not shrinking myself is actually the way. And also like, I feel like we have to like stop attaching our worth to like the potential partner that we're going to bring
Yeah, like
in.
why?
Yeah, yeah,
I am what I I am. I could walk out and I could literally slip on black ice and hit my head and die today.
True.
That's a reality, right? And then if I never got the man that I wanted, then that was my life.
That's
that
nothing.
was literally my
that
life.
doesn't take
You know how
anything
you're
away
say-
from you.
You know how
Yeah.
you're saying that strength thing?
Yeah.
I feel like there's been times where I've been told, like, you know, you say some things that you shouldn't be saying, right?
Mm.
But I feel like there's a limit where it's like where sometimes I've had to been like, okay, well maybe, like, have you had that point where someone's been like, Harpo, maybe you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, and you've been like, okay, fuck, have you had to reel it in a little bit ever?
Reel it in a way where, like, if it was genuinely wrong and harmful, then yes. But then there have been people in my life who were like, just like they were just triggered by it. They were just insecure. Like, my light was so bright that it was shining on parts of them that they didn't want light on. And when that was the case, I was like, okay, but that's actually not a me problem. Like, I'm not going to dim my light because you're uncomfortable by it, right? And we tell people, and we tell women especially, that they should dim their lights because you shouldn't make the person next to you uncomfortable. There are countless examples in my life where there are women like me who have men in their lives and they're married and they have children and they're a beautiful partnership. So I look at them and I'm like, obviously it's possible. It's not like I'm asking for anything crazy. I'm asking, like, I really truly just want a simple life. I want a really, really simple life. I know, like, it seems like I don't. I just want a man who's not going to stand next to me and be insecure about it.
But a simple life with your life out there isn't simple.
That's where we come to this issue.
So
you
all
get
this
what I'm
comes
saying?
back to is Harpo's going to be single forever.
No, we're not saying you can be single, but what I'm saying
Yeah,
is
man,
that
we're putting your
that's a-
dating profile out right here. But my advice also would be that if you,
you're
once,
giving advice. None of these advice now.
once you stop looking for it,
That's
it'll
when it
come
comes
to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not looking for it right now. I'm very open
You get
to
that, Dan?
something.
She didn't break your heart. She's just not looking for it right now.
I'm open to something really meaningful.
It will come when it comes,
Yeah.
and you'll know when you know.
Yeah, I'm
and
looking for
that's all I
something
would
really
say.
meaningful. And when it arrives at my doorstep, I know it's going to be great. But I'm not like, in the past, I used to be like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And then if I do this thing, then I'm going to get a partner. Or if I do this thing, or if I change this behavior and I work on myself here, it's going to make me worthy of a partner.
Yeah.
These days, I'm like, I'm good. I'm chilling. I am who I am. And he will arrive when he's meant to. Right? And he's out there. He might be watching this. Dude, if you're watching this, message me.
Yeah, but not every guy you're gonna respond to.
Brother,
it
you
depends.
might be part of the 95%.
You know, and it takes me 3 seconds
For
for me to know if he's part of the 95 or the
how?
5.
How?
It just does. I've
See, that right
straight
there,
through
That's
so
time-
you're
that's-
judging.
that's a-
It's just it's
that's
just,
like-
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's my intuition. And it's not like, oh, you're the one. That's not what it is. It's like, oh, you're worthy of me spending 5 more minutes with you.
So we got a whole hour, I think. How long?
Oh,
It's the
man.
vibe. It's the vibe.
It's the vibe.
We got an hour and 40. So
Wow, we're real
It's
special.
literally
we
the vibe.
might be the 5.
Speaking of an hour 40, we want to shout out our sponsor,
Oh, yeah.
Scott 72 Liquor Store, located on Scott Road and 72. Go check it out. Go see the pretty blue eyes and have a good time there.
Oh yeah.
And as well, might as well get this other one out of the way. Reaper Customs out in Abbotsford for any tinting, detailing, wraps, etc. Out in Abbotsford. Please go check them out.
Reaper Customs.
And yeah, Harpo basically.
Yeah. What else?
She
What else?
wants
There was something you wanted to talk about. And
Yeah,
then he
yeah.
was like, no, we're going to
Well,
bring
what
it
did I-
back. We
what
started
did I
talking about
talk
the
about?
cheating thing, but it was something.
Yeah.
cheating. He wants to talk about cheating.
No,
man.
we already talked about that, but there's
Yeah.
something else that you wanted to talk
Nike,
about.
yeah.
You guys know over there, Peanut Gallery.
Dan, you have any questions? I feel like Dan would have some.
I want to talk about the relationships, but you guys already talked about that.
What? Whose relationship?
There
Oh
was
yeah, her
something else.
relationship.
There was
Yeah.
something else.
Anything that you guys were debating?
Anyways, we're debating.
I think the relationship's a big thing, bro. Because
I think it's
yo,
important because I feel like
divorce rates are at all-time high.
Because everybody wants a wedding and not a marriage.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Oh.
You said it, but that comes from a Bundy. I don't feel like care about that as much.
No,
as
I think our
girls.
community cares about it.
I think it's both ways, bro.
I think our community
Because-
cares
Bro, I'm scared of marriage.
I know I am
the
too.
whole-
It's fuck all
It's
that
scary.
shit.
marriage or wedding.
The
all
wedding,
of it.
the whole ordeal.
Married, living, all of it.
You have random Bunty showing up that you've never met,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Because it's
and
such
you know
like
he's judging.
it's like such an intimate day of your life, right? And then we've commercialized it.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants a wedding and not a marriage because there's so much pressure on like it being perfect and it looking good and your outfits being nice and your makeup being nice and like your vinyl floor wrap being nice and you know, oh, which DJ did you get? Or like, oh, which hall were you in? Like it's commercialized. Everybody forgets the actual marriage thing and like then most marriages fail within the first year.
For you as a woman,
Yeah.
What kind is that a big deal for you?
A nice wedding.
What lehenga you're wearing? Does it have to be Sabyasachi?
Who the fuck has that much money?
Okay.
That guy said
Who is
no
that
to the
much money?
podcast, yo. You shady ass guy.
Listen, I
Boycott Sabyasachi.
showing up to
The
this
fucking
building.
goober. Anyways,
I have a Pinterest board.
Yeah.
It's called Manifest. So I do put things like what I want my engagement ring to look like, what I want my engagement
3
party to
carat?
look like. Huh?
Is there a price tag on it?
No, there's no price tag on it. It's just the
Okay.
way it looks.
so
30
then,
K.
No, 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 no. It has
Wait,
no price tag on
but
it.
hold up then.
Yeah.
Because then we're going back, right? So
But it has
so
things-
to an extent, right? I know we talked about how financial, because they need to know this shit, man.
Yeah.
They need to know. You can't be fucking telling them, yeah, you can be broke, you can be this, you can be that.
But you can't really
Give them the fucking real that you got a Pinterest board with 30K this, 40K
It's not
that.
30K though. It's just what I like.
But it's gonna add up.
no, for me, like
Honestly, the rings I get sent on interest or in Instagram aren't fucking just
She sends you
10,000.
she sends you pictures?
They're hints, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
Hey,
you know
at
what I
least he
mean?
gets them
my
set.
friends all know what I want. My
Yeah.
friends all know what I want, and like the board is for me. It's for what I want it to look and feel like. I don't want that specific thing. It's just what I want it to look and feel like. For example, everybody in my life knows I want a black diamond ring. Everybody knows that. Now, what kind of a black diamond ring? That's for me to know, right? Like, I gotta save pictures of
I
things
think
that I
Ring
like.
Pop Save-On, they have like a new flavor.
Do they have a blackberry?
I think a
currant?
new flavor.
the black one, right?
Black one.
diamond.
But see, like I have a board because
Yeah.
that's kind of the that's how I move through the world.
No,
right?
I under.
So
I,
it's
like
not about
your-
the thought.
Your visionary type of
Yes,
thing.
it's
Yeah.
how I want to like actually envision my future.
Like people have vision boards
Yeah,
on their
yeah,
walls
yeah.
and shit.
So I have a
Yeah.
question. What if he's a ideal guy, perfect,
Yeah,
accepts everything,
yeah,
but can't afford a ring?
that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. My love and our relationship isn't contingent on whether he can afford a ring or not.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like that.
But at one
all.
point that matters.
It
Finance.
matters when see, like money is a means to an end. It matters when both of us cannot afford to give our children the things that they should have. For me, I want to have enough money to have a home because my home is my safe space and like where I take care of myself, where I'll raise my children. It's where I can also invite, like I can host people.
Yeah.
And then like let's say I have a friend in my life who is going through a hard time and needs a safe place to stay. There's like a room for them.
So
you know?
home, you mean house, right?
House, yeah.
So how
No,
cheap are houses? are?
no guy friends are staying at
Bro,
my
but-
house. I'll tell you that
No,
much.
but bro. But look, it comes back down to money.
Yeah.
Because in today's day, to afford a house out here, you need at least $2 million.
Yeah,
It's not cheap.
yeah.
So then you ain't no guy that can't
Okay,
afford a ring
bro,
gonna be able to afford.
But at the same time, bro, I think about this.
That's facts.
Yeah, it's facts.
Wait, would you move into like your in-laws' house?
Oh, see, these are all hypothetical.
Oh, it's a great question. This is a great question.
Okay, say
Yeah.
you get engaged. Okay, I'll take the mic.
Get the
Oh,
mic.
he's a couple
Okay,
pegs
next
in.
year you get engaged, right? Year after, you're gonna wedding time, right? Party, blah blah blah.
have it in my calendar,
Everything
yeah.
happens. Okay, you move
Oh, it's
in.
next year?
No, it's on August 31st, 2024.
Ooh.
Okay, say your
Pretty
husband asks you to
quick,
move
yo. You
in.
gotta meet this guy.
He's gonna come around. Don't worry.
Would you move in with your husband?
I don't want to.
Okay. So that's also a
We could talk
number,
about it.
right?
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But
But,
the
that also is
reason-
an expectation.
But
though.
that's also like again, it's like the way I want to live my life. I don't even want to live with my parents in the next year. I want to move out in the next year because I want to have my own space. But these are hypotheticals. Sometimes you can't afford it. Sometimes, let's say his parents are heavily dependent on him. What if he's got like a single parent, right? And that like that's their bond. What if like he lives in a hereditary home, or like what if they're very entrenched, connected family. So you can't make those decisions on your own. How I see my life is like it's me and my partner is how I do view my life.
Yeah.
But again, this is something Anand said earlier. It's all about compromise, and nothing is perfect. There is something that I'm gonna have to compromise on, right? So when I imagine my life, I live alone, and then I meet a partner, and then we have our own place or
Yeah.
whatever. But if that's not the reality, that's not the reality.
But see, this is where this is where I'm also playing devil's advocate, is because you have a brother, right?
Yeah.
And that conversation comes up where it's like, probably where if he was to get married one day, she'd probably be moving in.
Well, my mom
Unless-
has always said that I want them to live on their own.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But see, we as brown kids, I feel like come from a privilege where our parents can provide,
Yeah.
right? A lot of kids, I think like even social media has hidden the fact that not everybody can afford to buy a house in today's day.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at what it means to be a
Right?
home buyer.
So that
Shit.
also is a deterrent, whereas
Yeah.
you have an expectation mentally, whether you realize it or not. I feel like subconsciously, it's like this guy's got to be financially set to a certain extent.
So,
He might be ideal, right, to a point where it's like he's perfect, matches everything, but if he's not financially set, eventually that's going to
So
catch up.
This brings us back to our point where we talked about a few episodes ago, and we talked about on a few episodes, whereas as a man,
the pressure.
it not even that you'll never experience that unconditional love unless it's from your mother, because you're gonna be providing. So to a certain extent, yeah, we're saying that the ring doesn't matter, the financial state, but it will matter, and he needs to provide that for you to have that life, for him to have that life, for you guys to have that life as a whole.
But
So
I think it's what you place value on. So if you were to ask me, and I mean this, like I'm not just saying this, I've thought about this. If me and my mans were watching Netflix in our home one day and he turned to me and he opened up a ring box and he was like, "Will you marry me?" I'd be like, "Yeah, that's so cute." And if that was my proposal, that was my proposal.
Yeah.
Right? But that's because I care about the person. But then there are people who care about the flash and they care about the this. It's because it's what they value, right? And so we can't place value judgments on what people value and what they don't. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself what it is that you value, right? For me, I value the person. I don't value, I mean, again, money is a means to an end. It truly is, right? If your means are higher or whatever, like what kind of life you want to live.
Okay,
like
so that makes sense.
I live a very privileged life where, like most brown kids,
yeah.
I don't pay for insurance. I don't pay for, I drive a Tesla, so I don't pay for gas.
And that's
right?
a male
And it's not
female.
my Tesla, it's
Yeah.
my dad's Tesla. I live in my dad's home. They pay for groceries, they pay
Yeah.
for rent. So like that's the life that I'm accustomed to. And so that's the way that I view the world, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I was to meet a partner whose life wasn't like that and his parents didn't do any of that for him, I would have to adjust, right?
But it
and
would affect your relationship.
It would affect our relationship, but not in as much where I'm like, I don't want to be with that. Like if I've already written that off, that's silly, right?
Yeah.
That's so silly in my opinion for my life.
Yeah.
It would take an adjustment period. All I would ask for him is to grant me grace as I adjust to that.
Yeah.
Adjust to
but
being
see-
able
And
to,
at the end of the day, for you, the guy has to be working towards something, anyways.
Well, I think you both have to. Again,
But
it's the world you want to build, right?
What I'm trying to say is, bro, we come from a complete lifestyle. We live a lifestyle. Can we be honest? With the way we live, with our parents, everything kind of handed to us.
Yeah.
Male, female, right?
Yeah.
And
Across the board.
we come across someone that isn't living that lifestyle. It doesn't match our lifestyle. There's a chance we're not going to give it a chance. And as a female, if you've lived a lifestyle, which our fathers do spoil our daughters, right? Like I see it with my sisters all the time.
Right.
Whereas I'm spoiled by my mother, but my dad does spoil my sisters more than he spoils me, right? And he expects that the man she marries, and naturally a girl feels that she needs to be treated the same way in a sense, right? Don't you feel? Because
Depends,
eventually,
yeah.
if like you said, you want a house where you can have someone come over, where you can build your family.
Have
That
the
doesn't mean a
thanks-
big home, right? That
But
doesn't
either
mean a big
way,
home. But it means
any
a home.
house
It means
in
a
today's
home.
day
Yeah.
ain't coming cheaper than.
So
You know what I mean?
that's the whole thing. It's like it has for us. Our perspective is saying like, just men in general, that there has to be something there
Yeah.
for us to get something back, and
See, and
that's
that's
the whole
the- yeah.
that's the whole thing that I feel like we've been
But
talking about.
that's the
lately.
gender role of
And
the
it is
man.
what
and
it
that's how
is.
the patriarchy
Yeah.
affects men, right?
Yeah.
And it affects relationship. It's like no matter how like it just doesn't matter. But like you're still seen as the breadwinner. You're still seen as the provider. Like fine, the fact that like I've had this thought to myself too. Like okay, I work and I make a wage or whatever. But still, somewhere in my mind, something that I have to unlearn and undo is the fact that he's going to be taking care of the big payments, the mortgage, the cars, the
Water
this, the that.
bills, hydro bills.
I think about that all the
Insurance,
time.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
why am I relying on him to be the one?
It's
to
the
do
same
that?
way that you said if we go back earlier, how your brother, your grandma runs to wash the
Yeah.
dishes.
Yeah,
Your dad doesn't think twice to pay the bill.
yeah,
Ooh,
exactly.
He's coming.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? The patriarchy does not discriminate against everyone. It affects everybody.
Everyone,
It affects
yeah.
everybody.
But at the same time, I feel like it's there for a reason. I know we need to change things, but if we didn't have where the banda was providing for the family and how things are, I don't think it would work as a society
I
as a
think there's
whole.
a difference. So like my brother actually asked me a really good question the other day. He was like, "So what would world look like? What would the world look like if like women were the breadwinners? What would that look like if women were the ones that were running the households and this and
A
that?"
lot of men's suicides
Why?
because they can't handle it.
But if they didn't even know any different, then what?
If they didn't know that their wife was making more.
No, if they just didn't know any different. If like
Oh,
if the world was set up in a way where like women were the ones that were running the households and they were the ones that were making the more money and they were the breadwinners.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
A lot of women wouldn't be with men because I've seen a lot of women in our culture, the way they've kind of grown up, is if the man's a breadwinner, the girl's family is like completely against it.
but your question
Or
is
like,
kind of hard to answer because I guess we can't
We can't
really
imagine
see
it, right?
it.
So what I said to him
Yeah.
was, any society, in my opinion, that is unequal will always have like an imbalance, right?
Yeah.
So the point is like, this is going to get a little bit existential, but like all of us have masculine and feminine energy inside of us. And the point of us being on a certain path is to balance those energies. Have masculine and feminine energy, where your masculine energy is like, you know, your drive, your ambition, your motivation, your leadership, right? And then your feminine is like the way that you take care of yourself, like your the way that you experience intimacy. We're supposed to be balanced in that. And the way that we're supposed to be balanced in ourselves is how the world is supposed to be as well. It's supposed to be a balanced world. And we're finding that it's not a balanced world, right?
Yeah.
And that imbalance is what causes a problem. So it doesn't actually matter like who is in charge. If we don't have balance in ourselves, we don't have balance in the world, we don't have balance in general, right? So like I can access my masculine energy when I want to get a task done. When I'm like, you know what, I want to be
Get
like,
on the grind.
yeah, I want to be a
Yeah.
boss, this, and that, I can access my masculine. But when I'm like, okay, but I want to do the same thing, but just not by working in that way, I'm going to access my feminine, right?
Yeah.
So it is hard to imagine what that world will look like because our society hasn't been
Mm-hmm.
set up like that. There are small societies in the world that are matriarchal, which is
Yeah.
not patriarchal, but matriarchal, where women live together and then like they have children with men, but then like the children is raised by like a bunch of women together in a communal sense, right? There's communities like that, but again, this is all like a weird, like a different sort of utopia that we haven't actually even seen.
Okay,
Right?
I have a question. I feel like, let's just say the female, like, I feel like any female that is like making a lot of money, she expects a high, like a top G sort of banda that's like either making even subpar or more, right? Whereas if a male's making the same sort of money,
But yo, at the same time, or that I feel like I see that they come with this idea. It's like the same thing we were talking about earlier. You walk in the door, like we walk in to go see Harpo. We're going on a date with her. It's all good, no problem. But when we get there, it's a whole fucking other thing. When the woman goes, sees the guy, yeah, you're making less money. Like, don't worry, baby, I got you, right? You know, I'll be your fucking sugar mama, right? You see that type of shit these days, right?
yeah.
And then the guy goes and he's fucking depressed because his wife's making more with him. He doesn't feel useful. He doesn't feel useful in the relationship. He's getting bitched down all the time probably. He's probably getting talked down to. Whole bunch of things come with it too, I feel like.
So why do you think that he feels that way?
Because of his ego, because of his insecurity.
So it's a
Right.
him problem.
So then, but what do you do? I feel like it's a problem for every guy. Even
then
it
Abanda
doesn't
could say
matter.
the same thing
But
too.
yo, I'll tell you this though. I feel like it doesn't matter how fucking secure you are, secure you are as a man. Like I just feel like in that situation, unless you're maybe it's just a brown thing for me personally. I don't know. I know you feel the same way probably, and it's just hard. It's just hard to accept that fact that you're like, I'm not going to be the breadwinner. I'm not going to be the one doing this. Or not even the fact being the breadwinner, at least being on the same type of level. At least having that same type of thing. Yeah, my girl's making 7 figures. I better be making that 6-7 figures too. Maybe she makes a couple.
But why are you in a competition with your partner?
It's just not about the competition though.
But it's not
It's
even. But Nandi,
maybe it's just what we're taught.
but nowadays, like, yeah, you're saying that, but our culture is different. I feel like.
That's what I'm saying.
If a girl that's making 6-7 like that sort of money in today's day in our culture is breaking a norm. We agree. in a sense.
Yes, and I also think that like especially if you're looking at Vancouver, you can't survive mostly on a single income household.
You
just can't, right?
You can't.
So I think at the end of the day, it goes back to fear and insecurity. That's all it is. If I love my partner and I love him and I'm so proud of him and he's making more money than me, I'm not taking it personally. I'm not like he's making more money and so I feel insecure all of a sudden. No, he's worked really hard. He's worked really hard and he's making that much money. I'm so happy. And if he finds it in his heart to distribute that wealth amongst his family and he wants to support me, he wants to give me love, that's a totally different story. I don't have an expectation of it.
Yeah.
But if he wants to, that's on him.
And
if it was the opposite, and if I wanted to do that, that's also,
But we talked about this. Any man that's making a top-rated money, right, at a certain scale, it comes at a sacrifice at some point, right? Look at our fathers that worked their asses off. That came at a fucking sacrifice.
Right.
Lost time with their kids.
Right.
Lost time coming home pissed off, angry at life because you just had a 12-hour shift and you got shat on by a bunch of gore that
and then roti's not on the table exactly
and
at
now you're taking it out on your wife.
Yeah.
Now your kids watching this trauma.
Then like on both sides there's been a prescription to a gender role.
Like we talked about before.
So you see where it comes back to, like, if you didn't have to work that hard, right? In theory, not like he didn't have to, but like in theory, if he didn't have to work so hard and she didn't have to do the domestic labor in the way that she did at home, life could be vastly different. Right?
What's the solution here, Harpo?
It's the system. I think you have to like.
I don't have a
solution.
Compromises have to be made.
I don't have a solution, but I think you have to like look out and
or where
find
do we
the kind
start?
of partner. Well, I think you have to find a partner that reflects that and has this understanding, right? And is like, hey, like I'm not expecting you to be the breadwinner, right? There's multiple people in my life that they still, even in our generation, they're still holding this because it's all they know. I think you have to be curious enough to curious enough to know that there's something different out there as well, right?
That's I actually agree with that. I feel like all of us, and I can even include myself, probably include you, probably include this guy over there, we're scared in a way of something
Dan, are
different.
you scared?
Not Dan. I was talking to
I
want to
ask Dan.
I don't think Dan's scared.
Scared of what?
Anything.
Like
in terms of what's your biggest fear if you were in a relationship?
Dan's on the spot.
No, I mean, just
like do you feel
picking the wrong person, really? Like invite the wrong woman into your life, and you can destroy your life in 5
that's
seconds
fucking
flat.
facts.
Right? I mean, it's the same both
if you have the wrong
ways, right?
partner, it could ruin your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
right?
it's the same both ways.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like, okay, so my last relationship, I was with this girl a short amount of time, like 3 months. But she'd met I give him a
3
3-month window.
She didn't make the
Where
trial.
I'm
Oh,
like, hey
3
man,
month
no, just for my sake and for their sake, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it's 3 months, and I should know if I want to continue with this after that. And I make that pretty clear with them too.
Yeah.
But I asked my buddy, I'm like, what do you think? And he said, I feel like being married to her would be a hell on earth.
Yeah.
I'm like, great, thank you. I'll take that. Peace.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you got to outsource your sanity.
Yeah.
Right? You can't see when you're that close.
100%.
And
I
like,
think that's true.
Hell on earth.
I
eh?
think that's true.
and yeah, there was a lot of shit that was going on and that I was picking up on,
Yeah.
but I didn't have the immediate words for it until I talked about it with him and then started to like look at it objectively.
Yeah.
But it was that advice. I'm like, yes, that's
Because
good
bro,
advice.
it's hard to see when you're in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, you know.
And you're who you are, and like the people in your life, they know who you are without all the gimmicks, right? With all the flash and like the pretending. So like if you're acting a certain way, or if the person that you're with is not reflective of who you are, your closest people in your life will tell you. Right? They'll tell you. Like, I had to give one of my best friends an ultimatum once. I'm like, if you continue to see him, we're not friends anymore. Right?
Whoa, how does that work?
Yo, that's my sister. That's Navi for me. Like in a few of my last relationships, she looked at me. She's like, Ajay, it's not gonna work out.
Yeah.
I know you, and you're just wasting your time, and you're wasting her time.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was I wasted my
Exactly
time, and I wasted her time.
Yeah.
But we got a trip out of it.
That is true, right?
And we hopped on live with the game.
Oh, that's so fun.
Shout
But
out
that's
to
what
her.
happens, right? So that's what happens. Is like the people closest in your life will be able to tell you, like, hey, I don't actually think that this is reflective of who you are, and I don't think this is the right partner for you, because it's not making you better. It's actually making you a more miserable person, or it's bringing out the worst in you, right?
I feel like, yeah, that's true. But there could be other side to that too. Just to be the devil's advocate. The person who you're
brown
talking.
boys love being the devil's advocate.
No,
Just
we
say
are the
that.
devil. You know that.
I love how you categorize us, bro. There's white.
Oh, I
boy
mean,
here. There's a white boy here too.
he's got
The
the
white
devil
boy hasn't
horns too.
once played devil's advocate.
I just think that. What was the point that we just said?
So that could
No,
be another. There could be
kids.
another thing to that too, like
Yeah.
when your closest ones in your life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At the same time, sometimes those people aren't happy in their own lives,
Oh, misery is.
and then sometimes, yeah, they
Misery loves company.
could. That's his favorite.
But that's
saying.
different. Like then, like that's just them being like again.
But how do you know?
Insecure and rooted in fear.
But how do you
Fear
know?
and insecurity are what drive so many people every day.
But how?
As a bunda, I've heard this so many times where it's like, yo, her friend fucked it up for me.
What was the reason that you're? Yeah, okay, so yeah, friend fucked it
Well,
up
if
for
my
me.
friend wasn't being treated right, truly wasn't being treated right,
Yeah.
I was like, hey, you're not being treated right. You're not being treated right. You're not being treated right. And then, you know, she wasn't seeing it. She wasn't seeing it. She sees it. She goes back. She sees it. She goes back. And eventually you have to be like, hey, like, I'm not participating in this.
Because it's a
right?
waste of your time too, right?
Yeah, because you're like, yo, like, okay, first of all, I'm trying to be somewhere, right? And like, your sangat is so important. I don't know if you've ever heard anyone in your life say that. My daddy says it all the time. Your sangat is so important. So if you're constantly putting yourself in that position, I love you and I care about you and I won't judge you, but how much energy I offer you is gonna change. I'm not gonna pick up the phone when you call to complain about this person again and again. Because again, also though, I extend grace and compassion because we allow what we think we deserve, right? We always allow what we think we deserve. There have been millions of times where my friends have listened to me cry about the same guy for 7 years, right? 7 years they heard me cry about the same person again and again, right? Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Fuck, shout out to
Yeah.
that guy. No wonder you're breaking so many hearts. You did it first.
But, he did it first. He's the one. But you know, and then they were still there, right? They
Yeah.
were still there. But at least I was presenting movement. I was presenting like
You're
I
not just
know
like
this is wrong.
running back saying, okay, this guy for 7 years. Like, keep going back, keep
Yeah,
going
and
back.
and that's not to shame people who do go
Yeah.
back. There's a million reasons why people go back.
It
but
happens. It's your
You
mentality.
gotta, you know, like I was like, okay, like no, like I'm sorry, and like I also kind of knew that like if I don't do that, she's gonna put herself back in a harmful situation. So I had to put my foot
Did it
down.
work?
Yeah, it did work.
And then do you feel like that person progressed better in their life after?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, shout out to that friend for listening.
Shout out to that friend for that, because it's very hard for people to listen when you're in that love mode.
Yeah, and I think like we can obviously there's room for us to be like, yo, people in their lives and they have their own decisions. But you know the whole thing about like the tattoo thing that we talked about? Like I needed to tell my brother like, hey, a neck tattoo isn't the right thing because it's factually not the right thing. Same thing with this friend. It factually wasn't right for her
So you're
to
saying
do.
guys that get neck tattoos is a bad thing?
I think
When you're
it-
17 years old, yes.
Ooh, you see though what I'm saying? Like everything can be misconstrued.
But when you're 17 and it's because you want it because it's cool.
Because it's
what
like
you,
the
it's-
jack thing to do, bro.
It's no,
That's
it's
what
not.
she's
It's
saying
not
in
what
a
you
way.
want.
You know what
It's
I
not
mean?
what you want, right?
It's like a fucking thing, bro. It's like a trend, almost. But you're getting it, and you're 17. You're gonna be like that for the rest
But
of
then
your fucking
that's
life.
the same thing with like the whole like the gender stuff. Like at a young age, you shouldn't be allowed to make a decision on that.
On
You know what I
what?
mean? Like male, female.
Okay, we're not
and,
gonna
like-
go there.
You get what I'm saying though?
We're
Like
not
that's
gonna
the
go there.
same sort of conversation then.
Yeah, bro.
No, that's
No, because that's
when
the
it's
same
rooted
thing.
in when it's rooted in an intuitive understanding of your identity, it's different.
I don't
But
think
when
so.
it's like, oh, I want to do it because it's cool, that's different. I was gonna actually ask you guys a question.
Okay,
So
let's
you
go.
both
Yeah.
went to high school in Surrey.
No, I
I
didn't.
did.
Prince George.
Only me.
North.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Born and raised.
This is
Why does
you're
that make
different.
sense? Tell me.
Because you're different.
I'm a good guy, right?
Yeah, you're open.
Oh.
I went to Denver. Shout out.
I mean, I wasn't always open.
Nah, yeah, I can see that.
Oh, you
What
went
the
to
fuck's
town.
that mean?
You went to
First
town,
of
yeah?
all, let's talk about that for a second.
Tommy girl. Yeah, I heard there's a couple stabbings at your school. What's going on here?
That's a sad story. Let's not talk about that.
No, it's like sad because I actually wanted to bring this up too. It's funny that you brought. Actually, you asked me the question first, then I'll ask you.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the
yeah, I was
question.
just gonna ask you what it was like for you to go to high school in Surrey, and then, well, I guess you went to Prince George, but what your experience has been like to be in Surrey? Because, like I said in my introduction, I'm a proud kid from Surrey.
That's what I was gonna ask about you too.
I'm a
but-
proud kid from PG. These guys are technically, yo, you guys
I
are
mean-
PG bred too, right? Don't forget that.
Yeah, we're like
Surrey, so-
PG bred, but we're born and raised in Syria. Yeah, but me, I love this place. I do love this place, but honestly, man, sometimes like shit, like I just said, like it
Yeah.
fucking annoys me. It's like, why? What am I gonna be proud about when the shit like this is happening every other fucking day?
And our society focuses on the negative more than the positive.
100%.
So like,
So
yeah,
you
I
know
try to
that's-
rep it as much as I can, but at the same time, it's people. Like, it's just like
Yeah,
it's a thing. It's a whole stigma on it, and it is what it is. And if you ain't a certain way, if you're from the place, then people think you're in a certain way. But it's like every certain type of person comes from every single place in this world. So I don't think it really defines who you are, but it obviously
does.
shapes you to the person that you are.
When everybody always thinks I'm like a Surrey Jack, that sort of guy. But then when I tell them I'm from Prince George, they're like, oh, what?
But
Like,
then
you know how
it's
you
like,
just said that,
Mhm.
right? You wouldn't have said that if I said I'm from Surrey.
Yeah,
No, because you would have been okay. He fits a typical picture.
yeah.
But now that I said I'm from PG, you're like, oh fuck, this guy's a bit,
Well, we carry all these like preconceived notions,
right?
right?
And it
Yeah.
happens. We all do it, male or female, right?
Mhm.
so what about you? So your question is, well, how was like going to school here?
Yeah,
PG's
like what
different.
was it like for you to grow up as a kid from Surrey?
I think I just went to elementary school. I was a smart kid in elementary school. Then I got a kid wild.
You know, I feel
in
like
high
I've
s-
known you since before Bains and Beers. Like
Yeah.
when I first saw your face, I was like, I know this guy.
Yeah, but his parents.
a
his
well-known
he-
guy.
He's his mom is born and raised in Canada,
Ah.
so it's different.
It is different.
He's raised different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
His mom's more involved in his.
I'm
life
like
in that
Dan.
So you're white.
sense. Yeah, he's basically yeah.
Anand and Rajan have a goatee mom.
Yeah. Raji's more desi though.
Yeah, but
he's been with me. You know, yeah, there you go. See,
but
he's
yeah,
got the
growing up was it's nothing. It was nothing different. I feel like if I grew up somewhere else, honestly.
Okay, PG, small town. You have the fear that everybody knows what you're doing
Yeah.
instilled in you at a young age. So I better not hear that so and so told me that so and you were out there.
He
You
had
can't
a
get away
different
with-
experience.
more strict.
Mm.
You can't get away
You're
with
being
shit.
watched like a hawk.
You can't. Uncle cab driver, you one club downtown.
Yeah.
You'll be seen. And the word's gonna get
Right.
passed around like nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like
I mean, the same thing happened here.
you
Even
know how they
though
say
there's
small
more
city
people.
mentality? It's true.
What is
small,
it?
small, like
Small
small
city
mi-
mentality.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is true, and you are raised different, right? Because
think-
everybody knows everyone. You know what you're doing. You know whose kid's doing what, and yeah.
How was your experience growing up in Surrey? Going Tommy,
Tammy, yeah, I think
that's the
Tammy,
one.
like, and I actually just wrote an open letter on 5 Express, which is the digital magazine for 5X, titled
Shout out 5X.
Shout out 5X, my home. Guys, we're friends now, okay?
friends.
You said that in the last podcast.
Might have to edit some shit out.
Yeah, so I wrote an article. It's an open letter titled "Our Boys Are Dying," and I did my master's on exploring
Well,
why.
I've seen this. I've actually read it. I'm pretty
the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, like a new one came out today.
I read the old one.
The old one, yes,
yeah,
I remember the old one. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was like it's the same title as the old one.
Yeah.
And I reflect on like the stabbing, like as like so many different versions of myself, as a kid from Surrey, as someone who went to Timanawis, as older sister to a younger brother. Like I straight up, like the day my brother turned 18, I like literally cried that morning. I was like, fuck, I can't believe we made it to 18. Like,
Yeah.
thank God we made it to 18, right? Because a lot of them don't, right? A lot of them just don't make it to 18. So like growing up in Surrey, like I think it was it was such a different experience versus like, I mean, Rajan, maybe you can speak to this because you're like literally that age group. Like it's different. Like kids are bringing shit to school. They're bringing fear to school. They're bringing insecurity to school. But then they're also bringing guns to school. They're bringing knives to school. You know, it's a different time.
But-
borderline where we didn't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That also brings a fact to obviously social media, obviously society, but at the same time, it also brings brings back to how these new kids are getting raised, that they don't have that same old school mentality. Is like, let's fight one on one.
Well,
Let's
like,
do this. You know what I mean? Like the Prince George mentality, pretty much.
Yeah, Intense actually tweeted.
Even-
Intense,
yeah.
the music producer,
Yeah.
he tweeted something recently. He was like, like we used to have beef with. He's like, I used to have beef with so many people. We all had beef, and then eventually what happened was like we grew up, and then we meet each other as adults, and like we realized like
It's a
what the
different
fuck was that
perception.
beef
Yeah,
for?
yeah,
Like it was
yeah.
so silly.
So stupid.
He's like, it's so
yeah.
sad that some of these kids are never gonna get to grow up and have that experience. And I'm like, that is so true. Like something that I used to tell my brother all the time when he entered high school was like, this is not your entire life. Remember this. These next 5 years are not your entire life. Your entire life starts the day you graduate, and you best believe that the shit that you do now is going to impact that rest of the life, but this is not your rest of your
That's
life.
great advice for a
Yeah.
kid going into high school to have,
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of kids miss that, because you can feel when you're in high school that
is.
this
your
is
life.
it.
Yeah.
like this is what I'm gonna live, and then when you're out of high school, you're kind of like,
Yeah.
That shit, you don't have the same friends. It's like all different because you
Yeah.
fit as you grow up. You learn more about yourself, and you fit amongst the people that you fit amongst. But in high school, you're always trying to fit amongst a certain crowd of people.
I did that too. I tried to fit in. Like I was friends with everybody. I
Mhm.
was friends with like
I was
everyone.
like that, too.
Yeah, and like there was no like real solid group that you could pin me down to.
Mhm.
Right? I was
Yeah.
part of everything. I was involved with everyone. But that also made me realize that like I just don't have like a strong sense of who I am, because I can be one person to one person and then this person to that person. Like I was still this like strong feisty person.
Mhm.
Like I would still yell at the boys and
still
shit when
have the
they did shit.
personality, but it was just that like you were
Yeah.
kind of I know exactly what you're saying. You were kind of appeasing every crowd.
Yes. Yeah, because you just want to keep nice. Because I've been a chronic people pleaser my entire life. Like I've always wanted to please people.
And even that gets you into trouble, though.
100%, it does.
That gets you into beef.
Because you'll
that
talk
gets
shit
you
about one
into
person
shit.
here, and then you
Yeah.
talk shit to another person. It's
That
the
gets you into
worst.
could get you down a whole another rabbit hole. In the last episode, I was talking to Doug Pun about this, so I didn't get to tell you about it. He also, how everybody blames the parents? He said that he feels like it comes from the government.
100%.
It
Elab-
goes
elaborate.
all the way down from the government, not just the parents.
Elaborate.
Basically,
Yeah,
he-
I'm gonna pull up a tweet while you're talking, and I'm gonna read it out.
basically he was saying that the government is the one that's putting all the shit into people.
Like what?
Like they're putting the music video on social media, music videos, gun videos, hip hop videos, this and that. They're trying to break the family lifestyle. They're trying to have the mom at work, the dad at work, this and that, shit like that. So
Okay,
he's
see,
saying-
that's someone that like a lot of people might not agree with. Where the
Well, this is what I tweeted this a long time ago, and obviously there's no service in this room, so I'm not gonna see it. Let me see if I can turn my Wi-Fi off. But it was basically like gangs are not a South Asian issue. They're a Canadian issue. They're a BC issue. They're a second generation Canadian issue. They're a hyphenated identity issue. They're not like a brown people problem. It's like us existing in this Canadian society where our parents immigrate to this country, and they have their own challenges of integrating into Canada and, in this world, in this Western world. But then their kids have like a second set of, like a whole different set of issues that they experience. That's the real cause, right? It's not because brown people are more inherently, and brown boys are more inherently, like there's more chances of them getting into gangs. That's not how it is. It's because it's the society that we live in, right? And the reason it happens more in BC than it happens in like Alberta or Toronto or whatever is simply because Vancouver's a port city. Like gangs and drugs can get into our region a lot easier than they can in Toronto or they can in Saskatchewan or whatever, right? So like that, I agree with that. I'm not saying that they're like going out of their way to like create media and stuff like that, but it's the system that allows
okay,
for
but
it.
Yeah,
but
that's-
but I'll be honest. In our community, we highlight that shit. We have pages on social media that like promotes it in a sense. Like, let me ask Dan. Dan, growing up, were you guys like did you grow up around a lot of like drug dealers or like that sort of thing? Like, were you guys like, constantly like promoting that or anybody talking about that? Was that a thing around your social media?
I don't think you have to ask Dan this question because all of us in this room have grown up with hip hop culture. We
Yeah.
all grew up watching rap videos.
But we're talking about BC.
No,
but
Rap is
we all-
considered. It happens
we
in
all-
Punjabi music too.
Yes, but we all grew up watching rap music, and you and I are not involved in gangs and drugs.
Yeah, but
We're
I also
not.
was raised in Prince George.
See,
That
but-
wasn't highlighted out there.
But at the same,
Right.
at the
I only
still-
experienced it when I came
But
out
listen,
here.
listen.
You also have Vinny Johal on Global News.
Yeah, but I wasn't exposed to Bindi Johal, bro.
But-
I found out from my cousins out here.
Exactly. Kids out here were.
Yeah,
Just because you didn't see that perspective doesn't mean.
but I was raised around Gore.
but like pop culture and music is not. It's not what creates the perception. It's that it reflects what's happening in the society, right? So like if Punjabi music is glorifying guns and gangs and all this kind of stuff, it's because it's what's happening in the actual culture, and that's why they're doing that, right? So now if you look at what Punjabi music videos are portraying, it's like rich, it's like an affluent community, right? It's big houses. Like my cousin's house gets featured in music videos all the time. It's a big house, right? It exists in Surrey. They'll do their music videos there.
Yeah.
It's what's already happening in the culture, right? So before, yeah, sure, it might have been drugs and gangs and like, guns and stuff, but now it's affluence, right? It's like expensive cars, it's like big houses, it's wearing your Balenciaga and wearing your Gucci and all this kind of stuff. But that's because that's what's happening in the community, that's what's happening in the society. And then the people who are gonna consume this media, they want the pop culture to like appeal to those people. So now they want to speak to the things that they value, right?
See, like even that up north, there wasn't any of that.
Yeah.
I came down here, every car is like fucking, everybody's got like a Mercedes, Benz, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Up north, nobody cared. Nobody cared it was parked in your driveway. It wasn't like I gotta have a bigger house than this guy. But it's more highlighted out here,
But that's a big problem that we have.
right?
Boycott
And that's what I'm
Balenciaga,
saying
by
is
the
like
way.
it's because we have more access to social media.
Yes.
And we're seeing everything that happens out here. So we're getting that media information.
It's always a reflection of what's actually happening in the
Yeah.
society.
So that's what I'm saying is we highlight it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the only way we're getting it up north. You get what
For
I'm
what?
saying? Like
Oh.
any sort of thing, bro. Like
Yeah, I understand.
what you're scrolling down your feed, you see a guy pulling up at his wedding, buying his girl, and you
fucking G-Wagon.
G-Wagon.
Oh,
Oh,
my
actually,
Right?
that is where my dream of
nobody
a G-Wagon
nobody
started,
does
now
that
I
shit up
think
north,
about it.
man. Nobody does that shit up north.
I want a G-Wagon.
Oh my god. Harpo, what are you doing?
I want a
We weren't
G-Wagon.
even getting a fucking ring a couple minutes ago, and now we're getting
I
a
want a
G-Wagon.
G-Wagon. No, I don't want. I never said I want a man to buy me a G-Wagon. I want to make enough money to buy me a G-Wagon.
Harpo wants
That
the
and a Dior
tax
saddlebag. That's
tax
what I
rate.
want.
What else? Any more questions for us? Anything?
No,
You know?
that's it. You guys are such
So
lovely humans.
how was you growing up in Surrey then?
Yeah,
For you?
I shared
Did
that
you
with
say
you.
that?
Yeah,
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 she talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
With like the different groups and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's-
Anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, this is so
feel like-
fun.
Do you have some advice to give to us, to give to the listeners? You can give us some advice, and then
Yeah.
give the listeners some advice.
honest advice.
Some honest advice. I think you guys are onto something here with Bains and Beers. I think it's cool, right? I think this has been so. You guys have been so wonderful. Like you guys have been so open
Thank you.
and respectful and rooted in love. And this is not like I wasn't expecting this. I was hesitant to come on the episode because I was like what if they like are trying, like I'm used to like sometimes like a lot of brown men with a lot of like opinions.
So let's get strong as fuck.
Dirty bag.
Yo, you did that on purpose.
I'm always anticipating them like wanting me to like defend myself, right?
Yeah.
Or like have to make like a strong case amongst or on behalf of like all brown girls everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I was afraid of that. And I'm realizing that that wasn't the case. So I think that's great. And so I think you guys are definitely onto something. I think you're both like open enough. And I think that you guys should definitely like double down on that and continue to have like open conversations. And like there's going to be an entire audience out there that got to learn about brown girl guilt and got to see a different perspective because of you guys. And I think you guys are natural leaders in that way. And I think you should definitely see yourselves as that. Like, don't let Bains and Beers be on a hiatus for as long as it has been, which I understand sometimes happen. Life gets in the way and like circumstances make it as such. But I think that you guys have value. I think every single one of us has something to offer. And I think this is your guys' way of like offering something. And I think you guys should double down on it. And I think you guys should be consistent with it. And you guys should really take it to the next level.
Appreciate that. Damn, you should be on a marketing team.
Yeah,
You should be on the fucking marketing team.
I
man.
appreciate that.
That was like,
that
wow.
was heartwarming.
Yeah.
And I think like also
appreciate
the reason that I came on is because I want people to know that like we love to put people in boxes. You guys could have put me in a box and not put me on this episode. You could have been like, oh, she's so cool, like she's a strong brown girl. Da, da, da. I could have been like, these are two crazy brown boys. Like,
But can I be honest? We wanted to have that conversation with you because
we
it's
wanted
been-
to see the middle ground. That's what our goal of this was, to kind of paint you in a different perspective, like of
because we had that open conversation where we shared our perspective with you, and you were open to it.
Yeah.
And
Right?
you taught
We're-
us so much different things that we can use in our own life, and hopefully we taught you a few things too.
Of course.
And then that's all that matters for me at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I've always been open to any conversation when I know that if I'm committed to learning from it, I want the other person to also be open to learning from it. And I think you guys did a wonderful job of that, and I really appreciate that. And I want to see more of you guys. I definitely want to, I think you should allow more people into your lives.
More people?
Like people to see into your life a little bit more. When I shouldn't have had to walk in here and ask you guys what your names are. You know what I mean? Like I had to ask you what your name is. I'm like, which one of you is Ajay, right?
Kind of hurt my feelings.
Yeah, but you have to see that and be like, what am I doing wrong, right? What am I doing that's not enough?
I'm still hurt about the 95%. Fuck.
Me too, man. Me too.
But I think you guys, definitely should take the space that is yours. You know?
You think so?
100%.
100%.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on.
it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to do your thing?
Yeah, so if any advice to the people, let's plug your stuff.
What's an
Or
leave the brown girls with something. Hit them with something.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. I love leaving the brown girls with something. I always say this, that everything that you literally want and need is already inside of you. You don't have to go out to find it anywhere else. There's this line in a song that I love to say in every interview that I've ever done, and it's that you can be every little thing you want nobody to know. The things that you're hiding, that you carry shame and you feel guilty for, you can be all of those things. It's only when I was able to bring the parts of myself that I carry a lot of shame around and that I feel guilty for, when I was able to drag it out of the shadow and into the light and embrace it for what it is and say, I know what I am, so nobody can tell me what I am. That is what made me confident. That's what makes me confident. That's what makes me love myself. It's I love all of myself. I don't love just one part of myself. I don't just love the good parts of myself. I love the hard, shitty parts of myself too, because it's always an invitation for us to love ourselves more. So it doesn't have to be just for brown girls. I think it's for everybody. Be committed to loving yourself, because it's only when you start to love yourself that others can love you and you can love other people. So anything that you want to be, you can literally fucking be. Nobody can tell you otherwise.
Facts, no cap, yo. Boys and girls.
Yeah, mic drop.
So we'll end it off on that with an amazing little ending there. Want to thank you guys all for tuning in and listening in. My lovely co-host here
2.5 hours.
came here 2.5 hours later. Whoever the fuck made it this far, we really want to thank you for coming on. We appreciate your energy. We appreciate the vibe. I think we both learned a lot of new things about you. I personally learned a lot of new things about you, and I think that they're really good, and a lot of answers I didn't really honestly expect, and it was very open, and I appreciate the openness that you had as well. So thank you all for listening. Make sure you subscribe, follow Instagram, TikTok, whatever the fuck, and follow Harpo. She's going to be the 5X general manager. She's going to be taking it on real serious here, and she's going to be rocking it for them and get some big names on the festivals and stuff, and we're really excited to see that going forward. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy.
We appreciate it. We're the Bains and Beers.
And we're out.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah.